Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today, there's not really too much of a plan. We are just going to do the RQs that have dropped in from quite a while ago still. In fact, we have to close off the one that we started yesterday, because yesterday I started a rec that had two things to watch. However, I watched one kind of and not the other, so we're gonna start off just with that, and then we're just gonna go next thing, and then we're gonna see what happens. All right. So the first thing that we're gonna watch today is going to be simply Battle to be able to not exist, because this is listed off as season 2 of Battle to be able to exist, which is the last that we watched yesterday, which means that I technically should watch it, although I think it's a pretty unserious thing. But look, we're just gonna watch these episodes here super fast, just so that like we know what it is, right? And that way we can like we don't need to. I don't need to stress about it. Okay, like no, what if I miss super important 20 seconds, right? So that's what we're doing. First, it should be pretty fast. Alright, it's gonna be fast. Starting off with BTBATNE 1. Don't get in the van. Alright, that is Battle to be able to not exist 1, and April Fools, great stuff. So I'm not gonna lie, what should I do for April Fools? Like, for real, I have like no idea. Like, I've been thinking, yo, what the hell would a catch-up April Fools is like? I have no idea. I'm gonna need to think of some stuff, suggest. For the meantime, despite the fact that this is obviously a joke concept that lasts 20 seconds and lasts 40 seconds is nothing on the screen, this is actually technically ends up being the third object show where the prize is death, right? The prize is to not exist. And for as much as the concept sounds extremely stupid to start, it does actually lead to some interesting questions. You know, we saw Battle for Death, how the contestants are forced into a game, however, they literally don't want to die, right? Which means that their idea is to lose. It's kind of interesting, right? Where people are playing to lose. And it leads to some really different interactions, right? Or we saw File D2B as well be the same, be the same idea in a different way, where it's like you give consciousness to a lot of entities who have no idea what consciousness is like. So then the prize is to go back to what they were, which is on not having consciousness, you know, not living, which is really interesting, right? So like it's quite, yeah, it's not that dumb of a concept as it sounded there. Like, what, Battle to be able to not exist? Yeah, but if there's people competing to not exist, and maybe they don't want to not exist, then it's like, you know, it causes for a really interesting gap and a really interesting situation that I think shows can take advantage of. Anyways, that was the episode where the money ran to the tree, so good job. Episode 2, totally the debut. Okay, that is episode 2. Alright, so hold on. What this show's doing is a reverse challenge. Like, it is, okay, like, I wonder if these fellas are realizing it. So, because, like, you see how Money did the first challenge, they won, which means that they're out. So that means that, like, they're gone. So you have to not do the challenge. This is Simon Says in reverse. It's like, don't do what they say. Which is interesting. You can see the character jumped and they disappear, which means that they lost, right? Which means everybody else is left. So you have to do as little of the challenges as possible. Okay. I mean, of course, it's a joke show, so we're not going to get to see any interesting done with that. However, like, you see how these are, like, can you see how these ideas are not bad? Like, they're not bad ideas, you know? Like, doing the reverse of what usually happens. It's not a bad idea. It calls for interesting possibilities, right? Like, I'm imagining it more than I'm, of course, seeing anything, but, like, it's still kind of interesting. Alright, episode 3 is titled Porto's Big Dark Liquid Secret. I think this is in contention for the shortest object catch-up video looked at. I don't think it is, because I swear there was one that was like 7 seconds, but like this is up there for sure. Anyway, challenge poke, wax handle, somebody pokes and then disappears. I'm telling you, it's a reverse challenge. You have to not do what the screen says. I mean, like, that's cool. That's cool. It's an idea. Alright, anyways, I already taught, the video's already looked like 4 times. Battle to be able to not exist for a crossover ever. video that I just watched. Yeah, so a character was not in the intro. Well, I mean, not that I could tell. I'm not. The intro goes by too fast. But yeah, they get mad because oh right, you exist, haha. Because you see the shows that they're supposed to exist but not exist. But yeah, the challenge is to slump. Then this album, probably called Slump, ends up getting out, and then yeah, that's it. That's. You think there was more to the video? No, what you? You thought there were gonna be things in the video. No, but hey, at least I appreciate the consistent gag of as soon as a character gets yeeted, there's like 10 seconds of nothing else happening before the video ends. Like, it's good. Like, that's a great gag. But yeah, that was season 2. I hope that we have a 100% canonical way once Battle to be able to exist ends that we transition into this. You know, I need some object cringe style budget cuts gag going on here, because I don't know if this ain't 100% canonical. I'm gonna be disappointed. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. Anyways, yeah, that was the show that I probably should have watched the other day, but whatever. Okay, it opens up today. It was fast. It was what we needed. All right. Other thing. Alright, the other show from the RQ that we have to watch is from Randomness YTOG, which is a creator with about 2,000 subscribers, but 1.96k. That has actually been a relatively active member of the channel. You know, definitely commented quite a bit. They've been around for sure, absolutely. And we have ourselves their show. So their show is titled The Big Fat Fluffy Battle, or BFFB, alright? It has currently 4 episodes, so I don't know what to expect from them other than to watch them. They're all relatively short as well. So let's start with BFFB. 1, every end of a time is a fluffy begun. What the hell does that mean? I don't know, we'll find out. Alright, that's episode 1 of BFFB. For some reason uploaded on like a different channel. I don't know what the hell is going on there. But we have ourselves a Fluffy, presumably, who is here to host an object show. They have kind of a vocoded voice. And we have our contestants, which is like a Blecky. Hold on, where are contestants? A Blecky, or like a Ble Block, Disc, Everyone Dying, whatever that is, a Tally Hall album, they don't know their names, I'm sorry, a QR code, a fidget spinner, a water bottle, and that's it. And then they're having the challenge being to perform a dance. Best dance safe from elimination. 2 people perform a dance, and the second dance is already good enough to be safe. Would mean that everybody else is up for elimination. Chat, when are we going to start realizing that the good thing about challenges, best wins, is that everybody gets to go? It's not the best win if you don't let like half the cast do it, for fuck's sake. But anyways, excellent voting screen. I actually really like how this voting screen looks. That's really nice. And yeah, I don't know. I'm getting kind of like early BFTDI vibes from this, so it'll be interesting to see how it develops, since I guess it gets promoted to the main channel. BFFB2 Fools in October. Okay, so that is episode 2 of BFFB. So, okay, I don't know how to describe what I'm about to say. So I'm about to say something. It's going to be the most wrong way to ever describe a thing in human history. So it's like, there's something interesting going on with the audio. It kind of sounds different than how audio usually sounds, right? And I was trying to figure out why. Like, why does this audio sound different? And I think it's because there feels like there's an echo, you know? Like, what is, like, hold on. Like, you know, I don't know what it is about this microphone quality. It's good. It's a good microphone. However, like, something is going on with it. Where it's like, there's like an effect, or like some sort of, it sounds like it's being recorded. It sounds like it's being recorded in a good microphone in a big ass room. Sounds like it's being recorded in a microphone, but in an auditorium as well. You know? So like that's what's kind of happening. Like that's like the one thing that's kind of confusing. I have no idea if that makes literally any sense, but that's what I'm currently feeling. Anyways, BFFB. So we end up having a little no gag that water bottle doesn't play along with. Then we end up having the eliminated contestant be everyone dying. Goodbye. And then we end up having the challenge be to make an elimination area because CD and QR Code complained. And then Bleh called up their friend Constructiony, who dug a giant crater, very fast, by the way. And as a prize, they get to join the show. Yippee! And they're also safe. And everybody else is up for elimination. Bow, wow, wow. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy this, to be honest. I think that the gags are being pretty solidly timed. They're kind of my type of humor. I like I like this kind of oblivious humor where like Water Bottle is smart enough to play along to a knock knock joke but not actually know what it is, right? Or like you know, just everybody going up against the host going like, yeah, no, you're kind of bad, right? But you know, I like it. I like the humor that this show's doing. I think it's doing it well timed. I mean the animation, it's very squash and stretch, right? But other than that, it's doing its job pretty well as well. I was trying to figure out if this was an Object 4 that it was doing, because it does have the intro that a lot of these shows have, right? Like, I've seen this type of intro of characters scrolling and then the text at the right quite a bit. However, I don't think it is. I think this is they kind of, like, it is in the sense that it's short, but I don't think it has much to do with it, comedically. And also, Bleh and Construction. It's not Bleh Button, it's not Bleh anything. Their name is just Bleh. Bleh Button and Construction, they also do kiss at the end, so good job for them. And yeah, who's getting eliminated? I do, Water Bottle? I don't know. Episode 3, we wish you a Merry Fluffmas. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 3, and yeah, though, these mics are solid. These microphones are good at their job. I need to steal it. Where you at? I need to steal these microphones. Catchup quality to increase, you know what I mean? Times a ton. Nah, okay. So we end up having Pop, or whoever the hell this is. They look like extremely tiny. And they end up hosting the elimination. And now we end up having Water Bottle be like, who the hell are you? Because for some reason it is a surprise that other people can exist in the world. I like, what? I don't know why we're this surprised that there can be a guest. I like what? They want to say, oh, hello, I'm Pop, and I arrived from 47th Street. But, anyways, Water Bottle is safe with 0 votes. Actually, it was the first save, so I got like opposite. It ends up that CD gets eliminated with like what, 5 votes or something. So it is in fact an amount of votes. I don't know. The eliminations here, they're kind of complicated because, you know, not too much is actually happening, so it's a little bit harder to like guess what's going on. But in general, yeah, it's Christmas time, maybe. When was this episode released? It was released on December 24th. Okay, so yes, it is Christmas time. Let's go. We end up having ourselves the episode where we have to, you know, give a gift. They all go to the mall and have various fun activities. You know, they chat, they do a bunch of stuff. And then we get the plushie. So, Water Bottle gives them a Water Bottle plush, which, is goofy. For some reason, Fluffy doesn't like it. Hey, what do you mean you don't like it? You can just you can murder it if you want. Like if you don't like Water Bottle, you know, it's a fun. Plushes are good for all. If you like the character, you can have them there. Or if you don't like them, you can punch them and throw them in the air. You know, it's great. So I disagree. The second gift is a dud because they got a dud from The Simpsons. Haha. This is like a shared gift, and they both are up for elimination. Goodbye. Because, you know, those two are like a thing, I guess. I don't know. Me when I call a construction worker and get with them. But then the other fellas got busy eating a burger, so good job to them. And that means a spinner just ends up getting a random tie, and that's the best gift. That's not a Water Bottle plushie, so they end up being win. And apparently that's what Fluffy wanted this year for some reason. That means that everybody else is up for elimination. I wonder if there's a logic to how these characters are placed in the voting card, because I swear it's always been Good and Evil album at number 2 at B. Like, that's always been B so far. Like, the last 2 episodes. And Water Bottle has always been in one of the last 2. Right? Or am I going crazy? Am I inventing stuff? I feel like I might be inventing stuff. I feel like that's always been the case. I don't know how these are lined up, but like they're kind of doing something. But there's still this is still an excellent voting card, though. I'm not gonna lie. More shows do this, okay? Hear me out. do this. Dude, this is cool. But yeah, who's getting out? I would personally probably eliminate Construction-y because they haven't done too much ever since actually going. Like, they pretty much just end up being the extension of Black because they submit challenges together. They don't have many interactions, so it's not like it doesn't benefit. It's just kind of an extension. It's like a Black with just 2 characters right now. So I would personally eliminate Construction-y, in my humble opinion, and have them go in the hole which they made. But, you know, there might be other arguments, indeed. Okay, episode 4, and the latest episode of BFFB, is the worst day of JRMY2911's life. Alright. Okay, that is episode 4 of BFFB. So, time for the classic question. Who the hell is JRMY2911? I don't really know, but there's one post on them after searching them that apparently says that what did they do? They got banned on Twitter. So they were just weird on Twitter one time, like a year ago. And okay, then this is the deep cut reference much. Yes, we end up having a video here at the start of what looks like a skit of a cake in a washing machine. I guess it's kind of interesting to see what happens. Don't do this at home. And then we end up having ourselves no challenge because a debut is happening, because a double Elam is happening because of that. Okay, so the eliminated contestant this time was actually Construction. We don't know with how many votes, but goodbye. Boop. You did in fact not do shit, but then the debutantes, apparently the other fellas, you know, the ones who were recorded when we were off shopping, right, are upset because I know you record us, pay up, which is interesting. I like how, I'm sorry, I find it really funny how they're complaining, yo, we were recorded, I don't like being recorded, and then now they're trying to join an object show for exposure. Do you want to be seen or not? What do you want? You, the characters themselves don't know what the hell they want, bro. Nah, bro. This is crazy. Characters don't even know what they want. This shit bullshit. But yeah, so we have, not actually, this is one of the smaller debuts I've seen. Bone Lotion, no idea what that means. Cup from Epic Object Show. NC and a nice cube, so nice cream, presumably a nice cube. Random's cousin, who wants to dox you. A Shrimp Cat, which doesn't care. A T, who's an AI. Then we end up having Tangy, who's just, Tangy recommended by Tangy. Okay, great stuff. Who would I have joined? Probably Random's cousin, because I feel like they'd be the one who'd... Okay, I would probably, like, as far as the contestants kind of here, there aren't too many contestants, so I'd probably pick the most extreme one. Right, because that way they make the most immediate impact. So we saw how a joining contestant didn't do shit like 2 episodes ago. So we need a recommended contestant that's sure to cause chaos. So I think Random's cousin or Nice Cube would probably be the best solutions. Right, because then I wouldn't really like having someone like Shrimp Cat join, because then they're just gonna not really do much and they're probably gonna get out. You know, so I'd probably recommend Nice Cube or Random's cousin. But we're gonna need to see. Okay, we're gonna need to discover. In due time. As usual, this show doesn't get enough votes to where it can really outweigh the pulling power of a person. So if a person just has a lot of friends, they can probably just get their character to win. But yeah, that is BFFB. It's definitely a show. I mean, it's very small in the sense of, like, you know, it does a good job. It's very good in the audio department, as I've said quite a bit. It does a good job. The animation is relatively fluid for everything that it is, and the challenges are okay. It just kind of suffers from the detail of, like, it's not a show that's trying too much, you know, like, it's not, like, this show isn't trying to be anything, it's just a thing that exists, right, like, it's not trying to achieve a grander purpose, it's not trying to be, like, a main object show, it's not trying to be, like, a big deal, it's not trying to do arcs, it's not trying to do anything, it's just trying to be a show. Right, like, that's kind of what it's doing. That is the entire mission statement of the show, right? Which means that it does a good job, but, you know, there's not much ambition with it, so it's kind of, there's a bit less to analyze with it. But yeah, overall stuff solid. So yeah, all right, that's all. Let's do whatever the next segment is, because I don't know what it is. Alright, next up we're going to be taking a look at Mansion Battle. So this one, I had to try to figure out what to do with this, because it is a show created by toastedsea. However, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to watch the modern one. I'm going to be honest, like, I actually just don't know. However, I decided that, look, I wanted to cover this request to a degree, even though it's not technically time for it yet. And the 2021 version is ginormous. So I decided, look, what would I do if I was actually doing this? I would just take a look at the modern version. At the end of the day, this 2025 version is the one that carries the name. You know, unobstructed, no date on it. This is the one that carries the name. It's the modern one. It's the one on the active channel. And I think it's the one that makes sense to watch, right? Maybe I'm about to get Omega called out because you didn't listen to me. You should have watched the one that was 5 years old instead of the one that I made the other day. But it's like, okay, bro. We're going to watch these two, okay? Then maybe some other time we can take a look at 2021. But I think for now, to not delay everything to do with this way further, I think it's way better to just watch the 2025 version. So, sorry if you wanted me to watch 2021 one. However, I think the reboot is better to watch for me right now. Episode 1, Season 1, Episode 1 of Mansion Battle is titled Control Your Vocal Cords. Go. Alright, that is Mansion Battle 2025, Season 1, Episode 1. Yet again, I feel like I would know a little bit more context if I had watched the 2021 version. However, I will leave the 2021 version for possibly a later date right now because, again, I wanted to cover this, you know, because you know, I wanted to give it the time, especially because I've been a consistent requester. However, I couldn't get it to work with the 2 hours that I think the old one would have been. But yeah, we'll keep it. I'll definitely keep it in mind for future, right? So like, don't worry about it. However, for now, I wanted to still cover it, right, without necessarily, you know, like having to wait another week for it. Okay, so yes. Anyways, Mansion Battle Episode 1, another little show that does not have a voice acting. We, of course, saw one yesterday, and technically at the start of today as well, Battle to Be Able to Exist. This is another one that has the text on it. It does a couple of things different. Every show that has had text on the screen has done it in a different way than the others. Like in the last moment, like in the last show that we watched yesterday, it had the text be colored depending on the character, right? Here it doesn't do that. However, at the same time, it has the text be overall bigger on the screen, which I think is solid. In my personal opinion, I believe that primarily text should be in like easier to see in these types of situations. You know, I believe that they should be more focused on visibility. That's why I kind of like what Trinket Trouble does, or Hotel Object, where everything is on a permanent text box, right? Because that way you just know if you want to read what they're saying, it's up there. You see who's speaking down, you go up. You see, like, it's 100% consistent rather than you just chase around the text. However, this show is still perfectly fine with it because, first of all, the text is rather large, so you don't need to necessarily chase it around too much. And also, one thing that the show does is it messes with the aspect ratio a lot. If you'll notice that the actual aspect ratio of this is quite a bit, but a lot of the time it does kind of the cinema bars thing on the top and bottom, so that means that there's just physically less time for the text to work with as well, so there's less space to scan it. So yeah, personally I like it. However, I feel like I'm way too picky with that stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the average person does not give a shit. So yeah, this is an interesting reboot because it feels like it's a reboot, but something has definitely happened. Because there's a couple of things that, like, we've survived, that like we say. Because, like, for example, the freaking battery fella and the stick was like, I'm really glad we survived the panel. Like, what? Who is the panel? That is exactly the type of thing. It's like, I don't know this. I feel like I would if I watched the other thing, but I don't. They survived the panel. Good job on doing that, I guess. But yeah, so we end up having what is the first line of the show? The third line of the show. You know, maybe we should kiss. Okay, good stuff. So you'll notice this to be a trend that this show does. This show definitely is not afraid one bit, not at all, to look a little corny, I guess, in the way where like it kind of just inherently goes like, yo, these characters, they do romance and you're gonna see it, okay, and they're not gonna be subtle about it, and they're just gonna do it, okay, which is a thing that certain shows do. I know that like Mystery Boss Madness especially does like a lot of that stuff. My personal opinion on it is that it's alright. I mean, it's kind of like, you still need to, have a narrative to your show in general, but I think having to be like, there's a narrative every time you sprinkle a little moment, it's like, okay, then it's like, yeah, sure, why not? You can do that, right? Like, there's nothing's gonna, no, the world isn't gonna fall apart, but yeah, you'll see this. So, anyways, everybody's on this island. They got there through various reasons that a lot of them just kind of say, oh, yo, I'm so happy we got here, as if we're supposed to know how these people got here. I don't know if they got here, but yeah, apparently there's a TV remote. Their parents didn't let them. When did they not let them? They didn't let them do much, which is interesting. Want to know stuff about flowers? Yes, okay, all right, good to know that. Michael has been calling somebody. Okay, because yet again, everybody escaped the panel, bro. So it's being this panel needs to be solved. I don't know how this works, but like, there's a panel. These characters, I don't know what a lot of them are, to be honest. Like, there's this like black ball with purple eyes. Who is this? It's like an Enderman, Ender ball. Like, what is this? Like, cause you look like one black hole, and they try to add a face to black hole. But yes, then there's Tammy, who, by the way, yes, all the objects have names. Will I remember them? You already know. I probably will never remember them, but I will try my best to remember them. Okay, but we end up having Tammy, who is basically just a freaking square, ends up getting over there because they want to make an announcement. And what is the announcement? Oh yes, they in this island, they will do a battle for a mansion battle. I know, right? Yet again, I think this is the most this like the corny line of the episode. I think definitely this one. You haven't put a ring on my finger yet, so what could it possibly be? And I'll be like, oh yeah, we'll do that later. Okay, bro. What are we doing? But yes, them alongside the co-host, who is I don't know what you are doing, like dirt, ends up picking out the teams, and then we have ourselves the two teams. So what are the two teams? Let me see if I can sort this out. So there is Michael's team, which is the 1 mile sign. They end up having a lot of people on it. These teams are actually rather large. Like, what the hell? They're teams of 11. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of people on a team. Yeah, teams of 11. Okay, that's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. And then the other fellas end up going on the other team. So what team is which? Yes, the other team is the many shapes and sizes, and my team is the sack. Okay, so those are the two teams. And then the challenge is find us. Very simple. Find the host, and then you'll be Gucci, I guess. And yeah, we have ourselves an intro, pretty simple, just kind of, slideshow-esque. And then we end up having ourselves the challenge, which is to find the host. Now, most people do a pretty rough job at it. In fact, no, most people don't. Most people get distracted by debating like half the time, which is, not amazing. We end up having some fellas drop down. Who dropped down? Piper. Yeah, that's your name. You're like a hexagon, and then we end up having them all drop down a hole, and then they're off looking they're all looking down there, and they're doing debatable progress. I mean, I don't really know why like what's going on down there. There's not a lot. Just kind of there's like just a cave system mysteriously down there. The other fellas stay over there and kiss, and somebody told them to. Okay, sure. And then they end up finding them pretty much on accident because they end up having somebody do a massive scream. Yes, because they were like trying to dig down with their leg, and then they broke their leg while digging down with their leg. I still don't know why were they doing that. I don't know, but that was the new tactic. Okay, it hadn't hit the mainstream yet. It'll become a viral trend soon. And then they end up shouting for help, where everybody starts noticing, and then eventually Iliad, who I believe is the second host, the dirt poop guy, I don't know whatever you're, ends up getting found. So now they need to find Temmie, who is literally just been there on the grass the entire time. Maybe the entire time, I don't know, but yeah, like eventually, like we just find, like they were just in the grass. Just in the ground. You know? I don't even... Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I have literally no idea who... Michael calls out Emily... What is that name? Emily with 3 eyes. Okay. Ends up having... Apparently flirting with an orange beauty. Who is that? Are you flirting with the sun? Okay. But then you end up... no, you don't end up finding it. The TV remote, I guess by just being there, ends up finding the host. So we end up managing to have the other team be up for elimination. And then yet again, Michael's I don't know what's going on. Like this is one of those shows that's like it's gonna need, like, you know, the relationship circle. Like, you know that thing where it's like you see how you fill out, and then you fill out the lines like love, hate, like those ones. This is the type of show that needs one of those, right? Because there would be like 40 lines, because everybody goes out, I will flirt with you, and you will flirt with me, and then and the other fella will flirt with that person, and that person is girlfriends with this one, but then they still flirt with the other people because they're bored, right? Like, it's kind of like that's kind of what just happens. And a lot of the times in these shows, it's like it's interesting because the competition, it's kind of... You'll notice it quite a bit. It, like, even for something like Mystery Boss Madness, for example, and even in real life reality shows, you'll notice this, where it's like a lot of the time, if romance does end up being a heavy component, you'll notice that it sidelines so many of the thoughts of the contestants themselves. For the competition, for this mansion that we don't see, so maybe it doesn't exist. I swear to God, it's like Luigi's mansion. But yeah, no votes, no voting, voting banned. The important paperwork to fill out. So what? No voting. Okay, why? What? No voting. Interesting. Is that like Is that like, are we doing contestant vote? What is the grand idea here? That is a weird one. Cause like you just say that you didn't vote, that viewers don't vote, you know, if they don't, but they do, except not this time. But if not this time, then who votes this time? I don't. Okay, that's interesting. I'm intrigued by that. Okay, but yeah, that's Mansion Battle Season 1, Episode 1. It's a show that's not afraid to be unabashedly itself. Time for Episode 2, which is way longer. It is titled Love of Love, by Love, for Love. You see, pretty much what I've been saying this whole time. Alright, let's go watch it. Let's see what this shit's about. Alright, so that is Mansion Battle Season 1, Episode 2. So, alright, this is a very interesting episode. Now, of course, here's the deal, okay? I don't know directly, I do not have the direct knowledge about what happened in the 2021 edition of Mansion Battle for me to be properly capable of fully understanding, right? Maybe it has nothing to do with this, right? Maybe this is just how it goes, right? However, at the same time, it feels so much like, you know, we're talking about stuff that happens a couple years ago, right? And stuff as if it was happening, you know, in Mansion Battle, right? The 2021 one, right? Which then gets me to wonder, okay, should I have just watched it? Is this a problem? Is this a mistake? Well, you know what? No. I believe that what I'm currently doing, while it's not gonna give me the greatest perception of the series itself, like maybe I'm not gonna have the most context, I'm not gonna have the most understanding, I do believe that this is an important perspective to have. The same way that I think is important to know have somebody who gives an opinion, for example, something like Animatic Battle without watching Object Full, right? Something that's a spiritual, a spiritual successor, but holds a unique name and a unique entry. That way, can it be the first of itself while also being the second of something, right? And that is what this is, because at the end of the day, right, if there is old series lore that this follows, we need to think about that, because like at the end of the day, what I'm currently doing, which is watching season 1 of a show, the first season of a show, okay, and then on this on this different channel, on everything, there just wouldn't be any realistic way for anybody to know, right? So what I'm currently, like, the order of watching these 2 episodes first is the order that I'm having, that pretty much everybody from here onwards will probably realistically have. They're gonna watch the new one, you know, like, it's the one that makes sense. It's season 1, it's a reboot, right? Like, you know, like, that's what people do at the end of the day. So I believe that it's an important perspective to have. So of course I say it because this episode is jam-packed with lore, okay? But before we end up having to the lore, we end up having, you know, a couple of chit-chatter there at the beginning, where we end up having some fellas. So we have hold on. What? I don't remember the order that stuff starts. Okay, so recovery is possible, I guess. I don't know how. This is an interesting question that like, we have some situation here with Tammy, okay, where Tammy, as our host, has the capability of recovering people, but also not, but also yes, right? Like, I don't really know. It takes a while, except that time it didn't take a while. That time it didn't take much time at all, right? Like, I'm not 100% sure how exactly Tammy's powers work. Tammy has powers, but I know, like, recovery, not really clocked how that functions. Because people are surprised when people get recovered later on in this episode. However, earlier you can recover, and Tammy can recover, but at a certain point, but you're not allowed to. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that's going on that I don't really know. But yeah, then we end up hosting the elimination. So the elimination gets picked apparently by a random guy on the street, which is interesting. It's not a contestant vote. It's not a contestant vote. It's not a viewer vote. It's just the guy we found at the store who votes. Okay, sure. I mean, I guess it can. What? Alright, an interesting way to not have voting in your object show. But yes, the eliminated contestant that they end up picking is none other than Chris. So I guess they don't like the name Chris. So, you know, fair enough. The name Chris, not one of the best names out there in the world. So yeah, they end up dipping. And yeah, in the meantime, Emily with 1 million eyes ends up talking to the blue ball fella who I don't remember the name of. And we end up having them, you know, they keep wanting to talk to the orange fella who's the orange leaf, okay? That's who I thought they were flirting from afar. That's who they were flirting from afar over there. Michael's over there like, you cannot flirt with the other team. So they end up being upset at that. But yeah, so we'll try to see if you know, this man can manage to get away in there first. And then there's the big moment of the episode. Okay, this is the big moment. So apparently, Tammy has received a note. Hello, Tammy. Us at the Panel of Life would like to apologize to you for what happened to your folk a couple of years ago. As a result, we would like to invite all of you to the Panel of Life to make some sort of amends. Also, we have decided to undergo new leadership, considering the horror that our previous CEO has led you all into. Sincere regards, Stony, Stoneless, Blart. Okay, so, that is interesting. We end up having Tammy agree to go back for some reason. Now, okay. Alright. So, as usual, I don't know what happened at the Panel of Life, but it was bad, okay? Apparently, the Panel of Life commits crimes, has a murder, wants to murder everybody for their own benefit, or whatever it is, right? The murder, okay? So then, obviously, what you do is you go back. What are you doing? This is some horror movie protagonist shit. It's like it's like if you go to the freaking, it's like Friday the 13th. You get Jason chases after somebody, right? And then eventually, like a year later, you go like, yo, my bad, you want to hang out? Then you come back, and it's like, what do you think's gonna happen? Like, what in the world? You're like, what? Like, for an entirely unneeded reason, you just want to go make amends, and you bring in the entire cast with you just for the sake of it. Like, they invited you, technically. They didn't even invite the contestants. They just invited Tammy. Tammy could have, if Tammy actually wanted to, Tammy would just gone there on their own. But no, we need to fucking everybody go. We're going to the panel live. It's not even a challenge. The challenge, it's not a challenge. Like, there's not a challenge here. It is the entire point. They're just going there for the sake of going there because they got invited to. Like, there is, like, it is entirely just because we want to go there. Or at least nobody wants to go there. Literally, all the contestants go like, yo, are you sure you want to go? But there, this place is kind of fucked up, remember? And so Tammy's like, no, we must go there now. Tammy, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I don't know what evil place this is, but if you went to evil place, why would you go back to evil place for no reason? What is the point of that? That is actually top 10 worst decisions I think I've ever seen a character in a show make. Just like in general. I don't know. Oh, what the hell, bro? All these people traumatized on the panel, and the people don't protest that much. That's the part that's crazy. I'm sorry, like, you have whatever the name of the battery lady is. You're not called Jane, you're called, or is the guy called Jane? But like, they end up having she's, as soon as she goes in there, she's fucking super crashing out, all mad, traumatized experience. Hold on, then why did you go in? You can say no, it's not a required, like, remember, this is not a challenge. Like, they can't force you in. There's not, oh, you'll be eliminated if you don't go meet with the people who murdered you like 40 times. Like, what in the world? Because, like, okay, like, I don't know. I don't know. It's such a setup. It's such a setup. Why would you ever go there? You know, why would you ever say yes? Like, what do you think they're gonna do? Bring the panel to you? Like, the entire point of that location that they're apparently, you know, they got all the machinery there to murder because they're the panel of life. You know, like, but then they say, oh no, then you can't, like, you can just ignore it. Like, what are you doing? Come on, it's a letter. The letter's not gonna eat you. What the hell? Tammy. What is this, bro? You're sabotaging. Nah, you're throwing. Are you a secret nah, okay. This is now, Tammy's gotta be secret hear me out. New theory. Tammy is a secret employee of the panel of life, and is secretly working together to murder all of them. There's absolutely no way. There's like no way. This is like the elitist of decisions in terms of dumb scale. Like, that cannot, like, Tammy, we gotta fire you. We got immediately. Like, all these people, they gotta gang up on you. Why did you ever go there? Why? It's like, just because the letter says make. This is insanity. It's insanity. Like, that is insane, dude. Like, it's crazy. And the other fellas are looking out. Because it's just some people we need to reconcile with. It's not that, hold on. What is going on? I don't know if you got on the under this place. Ever told me if you ever shown. Okay, so they murdered the other guy because they were disrespectful because the fellas were going to show up. But yes, eventually they did show up. Like, I don't know. Like, it was also the fellas just start. Oh my god, the fellas just starting over, looking out the window with binocular. Like, oh, are they gonna show up? What do you mean? You didn't even give a time. Oh my god, the invite doesn't have a time on it. What are you looking? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. I have never seen this like no, Jenna, this is proper horror movie protagonist shit that these people are doing. Like, proper walking into the lair, you know? Like, bro. And like, the first thing they do is to just fucking drill up Allie. That's the first thing they do. Like, yes, much for reconciliation. Welcome to the panel of death. Like, I don't... It's... Bro. You know? It's just bro. I'm gonna say bro. Okay, hold on. What is the idea? If y'all are still here by next week, then may I as well have y'all dead permanently. I don't... What is the idea? Is that the challenge? I don't know if that's the challenge. Hold on, wait. I guess just try to find a way out we did the next week. Just try to survive. Okay, I don't... This is so... How do you get in this situation? How? That's just it for the problem. It's so far-fetched that somebody would ever be in this situation. But like, okay, whatever. They're in there now, okay? They did the dump. Tammy freaking sabotaged them all. Okay, they're in there. Alright. But, alright, so we end up having ourselves, the show keeps going. So, apparently, the freaking Boneless and the other fellow wants to do, being like, yo, do you want to wait for 1 week and then have them leave? How would that accomplish anything? How long can I keep them in anguish? So we just murder them over and over again. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their plan is at all. Like, I don't know what I also don't know what the point of the panel of death is. They just want to murder them? No. Yes, they want to wait a week and then murder them for some reason. And then murder them again and again and again. Why? Masochism? I don't know. So, alright. Then we end up having... Since they're all working together at this point, you know, there's no real teams at this point. At this point, just fucking try to not be permanently dead in like a week, right? It's just try to like dip away immediately after a moment, right? And it's like, okay, fine. Then you get Emily with 4 million eyes to talk with what were you called? You're the leaf fella. You had a name. Hold on, Violet. Okay, that's a name. You know, considering famously not a Violet leaf, but yes, they go over and talk. Now, and they have a relatively solid talk. It's pretty nice. And then we end up having some fellas. So, Jane is the stick guy thing's name. And then there's Alexi, who's the battery fella. Okay, so Alexi just like immediately, just like in record time, starts crashing out. Remember, this is day 1. They're supposed to be in here a week. Alexi, it's over for you. But, proceeds to start lashing out. You're expecting to be okay in this place. This place was my literal hell. I have no idea what else you expected to happen. Did you not listen when you said what happened? Alexi, yet again, why did you go in? This was not a requirement. At least it was never said to be a requirement, you know? Like... this it's just insane. No, I'm sorry, it's just absolutely insane, because there's a certain point where it's like there literally is no way, okay, especially for somebody like Alexi, like there just is no way that they would agree to go in this place again. It wouldn't happen, you know? That's the problem. It's literally unbelievable for it to happen, because it wouldn't happen. You know? Like, at the end of the day, what would happen is that, like, yeah, it would just be an immediate person. It would be like, what? We're not going to be in there, you know? Because it's like, you can't genuinely believe they change, and it's insanity. It's insanity that these people ever went in there. It's just it's impossible to ever. It's impossible. It's absurd. It's genuinely absurd. It is not believable, you know? That's the main problem with the lore. It's unbelievable that they would be here. There is not a valid reason for them to be there. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, eventually they get mad. We try to kind of figure out what happened, because Jane has no idea what happened to Alexi. They got like captured or something, apparently. Yeah, they don't know what it is. We don't really know what it is, but they eventually go over and try to defeat the fella. Alright, then day 2, day dos, we end up having some fellas come back, I think, maybe, somehow, they ended up doing that. We end up having some fellas wake up. They end up having, they try to find Boneless. Oh, hold on, wait, what are they doing? They want to find Colin, because they want to have him there try to defeat Boneless somehow, because there's rooms, by the way. This isn't just a white void of nothing, it's a white void of nothing with rooms in it. Ooh. But yes, in one of them, however, there's Colin just completely dead, just hanging there, just chilling in the wall, just dead. Was not great. However, they pop up like 3 seconds later, so that's cool. But yeah, they're trying to do as much as possible, until eventually Alexi ends up being like, if any of you wants bones, then just do it. Okay, not apparently that's not hard enough. You see, like it's just kind of, it's a little, it's how do you say this? It's not hard to follow. It's just hard to understand what the hell these people are doing. Like it's not like it's just. So maybe it is hard to follow, because it's just like, what are these people doing? Because like they're in this situation, but they're panicking, but they're not panicking. True, like how many people just sleeping? And it's like, yo, you don't wake me up. And it's like, wait a minute, what? We're dying. We're in the fucking panel of death. We're in a panel of death. Okay, and nobody's doing anything. Like that's the thing. Like that's the thing that's confusing me, because like even the people who aren't trying to do anything, like the blue, I really don't remember their name, like the blue orb, and keeps going back and it's like, oh yo, when we are gonna attack, we're just gonna do everything. What do you mean when we're gonna attack? Why are you so patient? Why are you so patient? They could see you, they could see, they go, you're in their building and you're planning out an attack. Like it's just like, it's one of those things, like it doesn't, like how would that happen? And then the one person who goes like, yo, I'm gonna defeat Boneless, it's gonna be, it's freaking Emily with 4 eyes, with 4 million eyes, and then ends up having like the other fella. They just come into the office to the giant screen called HQ, and nobody helps. Nobody helps. It's not like they need to, it's not like everybody there has a common enemy. And they need to, 2v1 is easier to win than a 1v. No, Emily has to go alone to fight the famous murderer guy that has just trapped them in there and is going to murder them on, has already murdered multiple of them. Yes, alone, one person only, because the other ones, nah, don't. It's like, but then it's one of those things where like, oh, you could say, oh, I'm worried that they were worried that they were gonna die. Well, what do you mean they're worried that they were gonna die? They're doing that anyways if they don't fucking defeat the guy. It's like there's a certain point, it's like how, like there's, I just don't know the reasoning behind anybody doing any of the things that they do. That's just that's pretty much it. I just have no idea how that stuff's going on. But yes, okay. Anyways, eventually we end up going at a house, where there is not Jane, but the mother, who's a leaf, all right, who ends up talking, voice acting dropped onto the scene right here, literally just this scene, and then it stops after this. We end up having the phone call have a voice acting in it. It's good voice acting, to be fair. Like, it's solid. Apparently they want to have they want to try to get married with Alexi. So we discovered that. However, they're over at the panel of life. I remember. Okay, so whatever it is that happened. Okay, Alexi has been to the panel of life. Jane does not know, or their panel has not experienced the wrath of the panel of life. Whatever it is, apparently. So they don't know what this is. So apparently people die and the owner does crimes or whatever. And then a few years ago, okay, he swept us all up in this building. No, he didn't do that. He did not. He didn't do that. You know what he did? He sent a letter to Tammy, and Tammy was like, yes, we're all gonna go there now for no reason. This is so Tammy's fault. Tammy needs to go. Like, there needs to be, like, nah, I'm sorry. You can never trust Tammy again. Tammy, like, everybody needs to leave the panel of life, and then you leave Tammy in there. Because, like, that's what happened. Tammy does not deserve anything. But yes, apparently their address is 25 minutes from the house, so they end up going over there. And then, what else do we have? We end up, yes, they end up going over to try to search it. But, yes, then Emily arrives at the HQ room with the big man, the big dog himself, who's about to have an epic battle. And they end up having a battle of interesting proportion. Sticky Bonus. I swear you had a different name, but maybe that is your name. I don't really remember. But yeah, they end up throwing a knife, doesn't work. Then there's a random shovel just hanging up in the middle of the air. It's not the most realistic battle in the world either. Because it's like, hold on, Emily just manages to get stabbed, and that's fine. And then they manage to throw it at the shovel that's there. Why and how would that ever be there? I don't know. But, okay, they end up doing that. They end up falling off from a ceiling. I don't know what ceiling, but yes, they end up falling off from there. And they're fine, apparently. Yeah, Traven has turned into a thing now. And they wake up, however. Okay, wait, then what happens? Then Alexi is chilling. They fall down a hole that gets man-made by the other guy, the assistant fella. There's just a ball. I don't know what your name is. So they ended up doing that. By the way, one of the things that I was originally thinking was happening. One theory that I had randomly come in the middle of the episode that I hadn't quite figured out was, what if these people got turned into objects, right? Because there's both objects and also non-things, but then that doesn't make sense. Because I thought that, like, for example, what if Alexi was working there, and then that's how they got stuck there, and that's how they got turned into an object, and that was, like, the experiment. No, because, I mean, Jane's an object, so they don't know anything about it, so that doesn't make any sense. But, okay, then. You can't stop me, have control. Alexi just immediately starts crying. Welcome back to heaven. Then Jane proceeds to immediately fall like 3 minutes after. Then what do they end up doing? So they fall into the hole. They're trying to go over to take him down. And then that's it. Okay. So what's the status currently of stuff? What is the status of these people? Okay. So hold up. So Boneless might be dead. Maybe. However, they're still stuck. Okay, and there's still other workers at the building. Primarily the main assistant of Boneless, who is this circle fella, who now has the controls and just wants to defeat them himself. So now the fellas are going over to try to attack. Still like 4. Like, majority of the people are just sat there doing nothing, which is great. And then, like, that's it, roughly, I think. Which is interesting. And then eventually we end up seeing the thing, the file from the previous day, because of course day 3 happened the next day, so Jane should have Jane's mom, which I think is called Heidi according to the credits, ended up coming back, of course should have arrived immediately. So then this would theoretically be when Boneless was alive. You see, I don't know who this is, because I don't know who died. It must have been Boneless, but I thought Boneless was Big Man CEO fella. Was he not Big Man CEO? Or was that a different guy? Is the guy that is beefing with Hyde, is that a different guy? Who, like, I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, so this is interesting. What do I think? I mean, again, it's another show, like, I like this show for, truly, it is unabashedly itself. It is doing what the hell it wants. Okay, it is doing lore that it wants. It is doing storylines that it wants, doing romance that it wants. It does whatever it wants, right? I believe that this lore is far too, like, there is not enough thought put into why the hell people do this. Because, like, even, again, I don't have the context of this place at the end of the day. I don't know if there is context from the 2021 version. However, I'm watching this as somebody who's watching season 1 of a show. Okay, I'm watching season 1. This is the first thing that you're supposed to watch according to itself. Okay? And by this season 1, I am getting the knowledge of this panel that apparently did unspeakable things to the people within it. However, they just come back. It doesn't make sense. Why would you ever do that? It doesn't, no, I'm sorry. There cannot be a reason. I've tried to find it. There's none. What could possibly be the reason? Other than they just believed it. But there's no way. There's no way you believe it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think, like, what the characters decide to do, I'm really struggling to understand with this series. But other than that, it's cool. I think that the plot lines, they're interesting, and at least it is unique, you know, like, this place is unique and everything, but it's just that, like, I don't know why these people are doing what they're doing, you know, like, that's the one thing that's making me go insane. But other than that, it's odd. That is the mansion battle, for now. I will potentially take a look at the 2021 series in a later time. However, yeah, I just wanted to still cover Mansion Battle before, getting to the strats or whatever stuff. And I felt like this was the best way for me to be able to do it, not fall behind another request, and not have to wait like a week still. So yeah, I hope you don't mind. All right, that will be all. See you next time. Boop. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is Camp Comic and its future second season, Camp Comic Uncamped, created by a creator which I don't know how to say the name of, miglele. Let's say miglele, okay? And yeah, I mean, yet again, it's a request, it's all the shit, but, that's how it goes with the request pile. It is time to take a look at it, starting from CC0, yes, episode 0, which is titled Studio. So, let's see what this is all about. Alright, so that is episode 0 of a Camp Comic. So I see why it's episode 0, because this is like a behind the scenes, this is like before the show started. So apparently this happens after the new soup. Now I don't know what the new soup is. However, like I was not told that I needed to watch that, and in fact I didn't watch that. But there's like the soup folder. What is this? I don't know. It's just a folder of scripts. I look at the scripts. 5B. Okay. Bro, this is on actual paper. Okay, get to the shot. Anyways, so this episode follows Captions as they teleport over to a studio created by Jack, or at least currently hosted by Jack, where Captions can host their own little series. There's apparently 3 rooms in this series. It's a small studio. There's a green screen room with a projector on it. There is the void, or a big white room where you record, and then the editing room where you edit. So, this is where we will have it. It's not the most glamorous object show setting of all time, but, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, yeah, we post on the ads channel, looking for people for my show, casting call, a CC, if you will. And now we can head into episode 1, for real, which is titled, Who Are You? Let's go. Alright, that is episode 1. So we have ourselves the contestants in presumably the big white room. And then closed captions comes in from nowhere as the host and spooks everyone. I'm not gonna lie, these people seem way too confused to be in an object show if they apparently signed up to be there and were just in a studio. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if the previous episode story tracks that well with the story of this show, it's kind of like, is it? But either way, we end up having ourselves an intro, which is like, imagine a complete random BFB and the teapot intro mishmash, where you hear the teapot intro played at the speed of the BFB intro, or something. I don't know. And then the show plays. Okay, so we have ourselves the game. The first challenge ends up being to draw a logo, but first there's 2 teams of 3. One team's called Yeah. It features whatever bro was called, Silly. No, weren't called Silly. You were called Silly. Yeah, you're called Silly with a C. They have a fella called Mossy, who's like a rock with moss on it, and then a green marker. When was this? This was a year ago. I think Depot 15 already happened. And then we end up having the other team called Team Spork, which is a VHS tape, a flower, and a mountain. The challenge is to design a team logo. They designed the team logo and the wait, which team? Wait, which team is which? Wait, everybody. Wait a minute. How did? I'm confused. There's 2 teams, but there's 3 logos. Wait, what? No, there's definitely 2. Yeah, there's Team Yeah, and there's Team Spork. That's it. How were 3 logos made? Mysterious 3rd team? What? Huh? Who is this new team? I don't know. I'm getting suspicious vibes. I swear there were 2 teams. Right? Am I going insane? Are there 2 teams? Wait, how many characters does this intro show? Show 6 with this 2 T. We're 3 logo. Okay, I'm rage quit. No, okay, episode 2. Try checking out over there. Alright, that is episode 2 of a Camp Comic. So, we end up having some fellas theorizing about where the hell the Captions fella is. Okay, while we talk about the Captions fella, I just like to say one detail. I enjoy the fact that this show has Captions as a host, and it also has captions, like the show has captions. Which I think is nice, and I will be calling it out as soon as it doesn't. So I hope that this show will keep having captions, because having captions as a host and your show not having captions is kind of goofy, but thankfully for now, it does. So, let's see. Anyways, this elimination area will also have tokens given out. 4 tokens, I believe, as they go. So VHS gets a token. I don't know what it is, but it's an H token, and it allows them to get extra points. And then there will be a win token, which allows you to double your total votes, because of to save at your elimination. And then there's 2 other tokens that I don't think we get to see. One thing that it is that tokens aren't very good. I'm gonna be honest. Like you'll notice, especially like in stuff like BFDI, in just object shows, you'll see that tokens don't really tend to have very good usage. Because like it's not that good to watch somebody with a token, because if you watch somebody with a token, it requires a lot of additional thinking. You gotta be like, oh yeah, but this token that they could maybe use from like 3 episodes ago, right? So that's why in general I think that tokens kind of get binned from a lot of shows, because it's like, well, yeah, but also that, you know, it wasn't interesting, right? So because tokens are cool on a gameplay perspective, right? Because you get to strategize with it, when to use them and all that jazz, right? However, they're not interesting in a viewer perspective, because viewers just forget it exists, right? Like majority of the time when you bring up, for example, tokens in BFDI, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, this thing that you could have used but never did, right? Like it's kind of like, bro. But either way, we end up having a green marker get the win token. They don't use it to double their votes. I just like to point out, even if they used it, they would have doubled 0, which would still be 0. So, I mean, you know, green marker is out with 0 votes, and they dip away. They just jump off instead of getting eliminated, so we don't know what happens to them. They probably died. The next challenge, each team has to create a game, and they'll be rated. So, Silly creates a game on the first team, yeah. It's an asteroid game where you're in control of a ship and aim with the mouse. It's interesting because you don't move with the mouse, which means that you have to move with the keyboard and aim with the mouse, right? Which means that you can aim in a direction you're not moving, right? Which, for Scratch, I mean, there's a solid amount of details. That's an 8 out of 10. Then the Mountaineers game, or Mount Trainees game, on Scratch, it's still on Scratch, everything's on Scratch. We end up having the Gaming Mention, which is a lot of simpler games. There's a game, there's a platforming game, there's like a beat game, like, you know, like a taiko game, there's a cannon shooting game, and there's an archery game. In general, I would personally say that this game is worse. Why? Because the other game, the shooting game, felt a lot more polished. None of these games are very polished. The taiko game doesn't even mark down points correctly. The other games just aren't that fun, and they just aren't that specific. So I wouldn't really have given it an 8 out of 10. I would probably give it, like a 6.5. But yeah, either way, after Will gets spun, yeah, loses, despite them having definitely the better game in my opinion. Silly and Mossy are the 2 people up for Elam. It's a vote save. It's a 1v1 at the end of the day. Last time Mossy survived by 1 vote, I'm going to predict that but no. Okay, I'm going to say that Mossy gets out, because people are going to think that Silly had the better game, and therefore I'm going to vote Silly to remain. So yeah, I think that's the solution that makes the most sense out here. Alright, that was CC number 2. Now it is time for CC number 3. Can't Comic 3 is out of the Captions. I found your kitten. Let's watch it, let's talk about it, let's do that stuff. Alright, well that is episode 3, so, yeah, we have ourselves a little bit, this is chaos. So, elimination time theme exists, it's pretty solid, the intro and this theme are, yeah, they're pretty solid. So, tokens get given out. So, Silly gets 3 tokens. A helpful token, which gets you extra points in the point challenge. A switch token, which means that you can swap teams, and then a save token which allows you to be safe from any elimination, and then the other fella gets a win token that can double your votes at elimination. Okay, Silly ends up wanting to switch to the other team using the switch token, which means that they are safe, and therefore Mossy is the only one left in the elimination. However, they don't get eliminated; they get graced. And then, so that means that nobody gets eliminated. They have the merge. Okay, so now that we have the merge, that's cool. And then we end up having ourselves the challenge, which is to go into the woods, which exists, and find the cat. Because they're lost cats. Who ends up finding it? It ends up being Silly, who manages to find it. My caption is quite happy about this. Then Mossy proceeds to find it pretty soon after. So they're the two safe. The other fellas are up for Elam. And they also get a save token as well. This is too many tokens. Oh my god. You see how the tokens already change gameplay. We've had a character not to be eliminated an entire stall of an episode entirely because we've have too many tokens. Right? Like, there's a certain degree, like, what happens if, I don't know, both, two characters that are left use both a save token? Like, what happens then? I don't know, right? Like, it's kind of one of those complicated, it's one of those complicated situations, like, it ends up that it's like, there's too many tokens, bro. We don't need tokens at all, but, like, this is too many tokens, okay? And yet again, this challenge, same type of challenge, like, the challenge is to find the thing, which means that if your challenge is to just find the thing, then you can write whoever you want to just find it at random. Still, it makes sense because they can at least fly. Mossy is kind of makes for the convenient duo of the people that were up for Elam are not up for Elam this time, right? It's like, he just kind of ends up being a little bit, a bit convenient, don't you think? But yeah, good job. Captions, you need to stop losing your cats in woods. Bro lost the cat, bro lost the dog, bro just lost. Like, this fella, the woods is 2-0 on him. And yeah, who's getting eliminated? I don't know, man. These people don't get a lot of screen time. VHS did the least. So I'm going to say that VHS, because at least Aster should concern. Mount28 did the channel last time. So I'm going to say that VHS gets out. However, I don't really have any logic. Because, I mean, last time, nobody got out. So that's, like, that is also a new possibility, which I had not originally known. But we now know that, indeed, you can be not eliminated in an episode, so that's kind of interesting. I'm trying to figure out this green marker asset is different. I feel like it is different, but it's similarly different, you know, like it's not that different. Anyways, let's go to Camp Comic number 4, which is titled This Episode Was Kinda Short. Okay, that's episode 4, and you see, I don't know what's really going on. I feel like this game, I feel like we're not playing consistent to the zone rules. Because, like, last time, people were up for Elam, we gave out 4 tokens, and here, these people are up for Elam, and 0 tokens get given, so, are we giving tokens or not? Like, what are we doing? Like, are we giving an exorbitant amount of tokens per challenge elimination, or is it just kind of a random? But either way, we end up having the eliminated contestant B. Aster, the flower fella, with only 1 vote. Unfortunate, but at least the total's going up, you know, it was 6. They end up jumping down. There's captioning. Look, to be fair to the contestants, they've been pretty respectful. They've not ever refused an elimination. They just jump down, meets with green marker. Now we have our challenge. So your next challenge is to create fan art of create fan art of somebody that's currently competing in the show. I will rate it, and the 3 people with the word fan art are up for elimination. So then, what proceeds to happen? Only 2 people draw. Why? Only 2 people draw. Wait, what? It's like green marker. Hold on. Green marker ends up. Yeah, so like Silly is left along and Mountaineer. They both just didn't draw anything. Like, what's going on? You know? Like, VHS won by half a point. But either way, it doesn't matter because I don't think you vote for the elimination. So, like, either way, like, this is just a pointless challenge. So nothing happens. Okay, cool. Great stuff. We're now actually having a rejoin. Sorry, not a rejoin. A debut going on as we fetch the recommended characters. By the way, I like reaching the handout to physically fetch them from the from the credits. I mean, that's cool. Who's getting in? I mean, I don't know. The only one to have shown up in a gag outside of this screen is Calendar, and they also do have the most amount of screen time in this itself. So I think it's the one that probably makes the most sense, but it could be anybody. I'm gonna say Calendar, but we're gonna see. Episode 5. Can I please have a second chance? Sorry, I do feel like it'd be worth it to at least mention the other characters before talking. I do think that, well, Calendar is my first choice. I'll probably put Sign Marker as my second one, right? Because they're at least, they have some sort of correlation for the show, and for people who thought that like the green marker was an unfair elimination, but I guess it would make sense. And other than that, the other fellas, I mean, there's really very little to say about most of them. Slushy has the funnier gag, Chocolate Chip Cookie I think has the cooler design, and the other fellas I can't really see too much of an argument for them, but I don't know, I don't know, there's all mystery down here. Let's actually find out who debuts in episode 5. Can I please have a second chance? Go. Alright, that is episode 5. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that is interesting. So we end up having a debut to where Calendar ends up joining after getting 5 votes, expectedly, I would say. However, after Slushy does some bargaining, Captions, who's pretty nice, and he's going like, oh, okay, fine, you can join, you know, second place, good enough, right? And then we end up having Captions confiscate all of the tokens. Yes, everybody's tokens is confiscated. This was a desperately necessary thing. Like, these tokens are just, they're just not it, you know? Like, it's already hard to balance these tokens, and beyond just balancing these tokens, you also have to, like, think about them constantly, and the way that these tokens were given out was so unbalanced, right? Like, it was, again, 4 were given per elimination when there's not even 4 people up for Elam. One person's confirmed to get 2 every single time, right? Like, it's too much stuff. So yes, even though there's no real reason why they were confiscated, the thing is that yes, they were indeed confiscated, and that is for the best of the show, even if it doesn't have a technical in-lore explanation. There is actually an elimination, which I don't know when that was. There was no voting screen in the episode. I mean, we saw people lose, but I don't know. I didn't see them lose, but okay. Eliminated contestant ends up being Mossy. They had the best art drawn of them, but they didn't draw anything themselves, which is unfortunate. They didn't draw anything in return, I guess. So yeah. Challenge, design the strongest weapon, and then the 3 fellas that design any weapon end up being the ones that are safe, because everybody else low-key just doesn't do anything. And like, I mean, dude, this shit's annoying me, because it's like, bro, like, you're doing the opposite of what you're supposed to do. You know, like, you're supposed to, like, show the characters that are up for Elam. That way we have a basis on them that we can gauge from how they performed and what they did. Alright, that way we can make an informed voting decision. However, this show does the pale opposite. It makes the characters that don't do anything be the ones up for Elam, which is a problem because we didn't see them in this episode. Like, Mount Training VHS did nothing. However, despite the fact that they did nothing, they're the ones up for Elam because they're the ones who did nothing, right? Like, you have to make sure that we do this type of challenge where if you don't do it, like we need to be able to see it, right? We need to see these to actually do their process of when making something, right? Whether they make something or lose, but like if they just don't make it, then it just looks really bad, right? Because it's like what I don't know, it's kind of dumb, right? So yeah, absolutely. The main idea is just make the thing, you know. But either way, let's see who is getting out to Mount Trainer VHS. Last time I said VHS. I'm going to say VHS one more time, and we'll see how it goes. Count comment 6. I like that. Alright, that is episode 6. So the first thing that happens is the eliminated contestants that are just sitting in a corner, I guess, of the room, are bored because, yes, there's nothing that they have to do. So they're like, yo, what if we take advantage of the fact that we have a really nice house for some reason? And they end up going in to ask for a rejoin. But first, the eliminated contestant is Mount Trainee. Mount Training gives everyone else good luck. I try my best in the game. No, you didn't. You didn't do anything for like 3 challenges. Ever since like the game, you didn't do nothing. Okay, come on. Like, what are we doing? And then we end up having the region, which gets accepted by closed captions. So the challenge ends up being to design a poster for the show, because I guess the challenges are just designing various elements of the show, just kind of for the sake of it. And it seems that, like, okay, so I think what happens with this, right, is that basically we do these challenges that's like everybody does blank, right? Like everybody submits a game, everybody makes a logo, everybody makes a poster, right? But the problem is that there's too many people. So, like, for example, you would have to spend your time making 5 different posters for a can comic, or like 4 different comics, 4 different posters for everybody to have submitted, which means that we end up doing the excuse of the people that submit are safe, and then everybody else isn't safe as a result, which is kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie, you know, because it's like, it's kind of like, again, it doesn't characterize the other people, because like, what were they doing the entire time, right? And it doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't do much in general, right? And then also one thing that I don't like is if we have the elimination on there, why is it not on the screen? I know that there's a rejoin screen, but like, come on, you can have both screens. Who's rejoining? I really hope it. I mean, I want it to be Mossy because it's the coolest design. I think Mossy has the coolest text as well, and the fish is kind of chanting fish, you know. So I'm hoping, and I'm expecting that they join it, but maybe it could be somebody else. I don't know. We will see in due time. So that is yes, I believe that is CC episode 6. There's not that many more to go in season 1. There's in fact only about 3. So we're gonna start off with CC7, which is titled A Mini You. Alright, let's go. Alright, so a while ago I watched episode 7 of Camp Comic, A Mini You. So, we have ourselves a like kind of paper version of Captions that somebody finds, and then we end up counting into the rejoin vote pretty much immediately, because that Captions end up being the real caption, kind of pops out, right? But yeah, the rejoin ends up being green marker. I forgot about the rule. I always forget about the rule. The rejoiner is always the first character eliminated. There is no doubt about it. My bad. But to be fair, Mossy was the only other one who got the votes, so it's the only one that, you know, competing for the spot as well. But good job, green marker. You made it back. And in the meantime, the elimination, VHS got out. Yes, I mean, literally cannot remember the last time VHS did a challenge. VHS is always the fella that say, oh, I think they're gonna get eliminated, because they don't do anything. But yeah, they were gone. Yeah, so challenge is to, well, make a mini you inspired by arts and crafts of mini version of you, like the Captions did. So, 3 fellas do it: Slushy, green marker, and a calendar, while the silly doesn't do it. I guess they're already paper, but then it'd be easier. Fucking whatever. I don't know. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it that we're just skipping people for no apparent reason other than, oh, I guess they didn't show me. Why not? What better do they have to do? You know, like he didn't give a valid reason. It's just, oh, I skipped out, like, bro. But yeah, Slushy's one wins. I probably agree, because, like, it's the most and complex one of them, right? Because, like, it's got a straw, it's got the wrinkled up paper, like, it's the most complex one of the 3, so I think it probably deserves to win, yeah. Everybody else is up for Elam, and yeah, I mean, we're gonna need to see what happens, in due time. I mean, green marker's already possibly getting eliminated, so we're gonna see. No, my expectation, let's say Silly gets eliminated because they didn't have any mini U to show. Like, that makes sense, right? They didn't have anything to do, so why would you save them, right? Okay, episode 8, just kidding. Alright, that is episode 8, where we discover, well, first the eliminated contestant, 8 votes. It's been a very consistent amount of votes, other than 12 for the debut, obviously. It would be higher than usual. We ended up having, like, a pretty solid amount of like, consistent, like, 6 to 8 range, to be fair. But yeah, Silly, ends up indeed leaving, and that means that the 3 characters are left. No challenge, because we just need to do a vote to win. Indeed, we do. Green marker, Slushy, or calendar. It's an interesting selection because you see there is no character here who was here from the beginning. Usually they say that rejoiners never win. They say the debutants never win. Well, in this case they quite literally have to. So yeah, who's gonna win? I don't know. I think people like calendar. I'm gonna say calendar wins, but I don't really know. We have also ourselves the ending that gets cut off. The screen ends up getting moved on. The camera gets put away. To be fair, for a series that hasn't really dared too much with risky camera angles, like, you know, it's not like this series has never shown itself to be one that had a lot of prowess, right, when it comes to animation and the camera angles and stuff. I think that taking that, you know, daring a little bit to try to do this handheld shot of like somebody putting the camera down with the zoom in and everything, and it honestly landed off pretty well. I mean, it's a little too smooth for a proper handhold effect for like if somebody was actually holding it, but like it's very. It was very solid. It's actually surprisingly well executed. And I respect the effort quite a bit. So yeah, that's nice. That's nice. All right, episode 9. It's the big old finale. It's where we will discover the winner of a camp comic. It is titled The End. So let's go watch it. Bang. Alright, so that is CC9, The End. So, we have ourselves the final episode of the show. Indeed, is the finale, where we have all of the viewers and recommended characters seated. I swear I have never seen that before. I mean, I know that that's the B from B, like, you know, the level in GD, but like, when did you appear? But yes, 15 votes, the most ever. Nice when the finale gets the most ever, isn't it? We have the next, the third place actually gets completely clocked by Mossy. Green marker with 3 votes. I don't know if you read it or if you just completely clocked it, because like, that's correct. What do you mean that's correct? What, did Mossy just YOLO that? Like, that would be one of the greatest guesses since Einstein. But yeah, good job, I guess, on that guess. Green marker doesn't win, and indeed the winner ends up being Calendar. Yes, good job, Calendar, on winning. I think that Calendar, while they don't necessarily represent the show in the way that I usually say, oh, a winner should represent the show, I believe that Calendar, in a way, acts as an interesting antithesis to the show, right? Because this show, at the end of the day, feels a lot different than your average show does, because this pretty much is a perfect show when it comes to giving the example of what would an object show look like with literally no drama. Right? Like, what is an object show without drama? It's this. At the end of the day, you have a host that is just using a studio, right? They're doing a game show for a prize that's not that important, right? Like, they don't even know the prize. Like, you can just wish for it. So it's not a generational prize. It's not a generationally important show. There's not that many people, right? There's not that much time. There's not alliances, right? So it just ends up being a super neutral show. The host is nice, you know, they don't put the contestants in bad conditions. They respect their wishes. They just, like, so the host gives a lot of thought to the contestant. And the contestants who also are in the same studio, they definitely know what they're doing, right? They've agreed to this. They can technically bow out at any time, right? They can do whatever they want. However, at the same time, it's like, well, they can. They respect the show because that's what they signed up to be here to do at the end of the day, right? And it's like, yeah, there's this mutual respect between the show, and it ends up causing a very little drama. It's what happens when a show has no drama. It ends up as a very relaxed experience that, however, I just feel like it's missing something, right? It's missing the sauce. Like, it always feels like, at the end of the day, we watch a competition show for the competition, and if there isn't too many drama, any stakes, like this show, which has so little stakes, then, like, it's not, you know, like, it's interesting. Like, it's an interesting situation because it's different than the usual, but it's different than the usual not exactly for that good of a reason, right? So I'm not, like, a big fan of the thing. And, like, Calendar, at least, is the only character that acted a little bit more chaotically than the average cast member, right? Kind of trying to troll the show, be like, I want $1 million, right? And all that jazz. And hogging up the screen time as a recommended character, right? Like, they're the only one who tried to cause a little bit of chaos. So as the antithesis of the concept and representing a little bit more what an actual person would try to do in these circumstances, right? Try to, you know, use it to their advantage. I think Calendar does make a pretty interesting winner to the show. After the video ends, we end up having ourselves a live set of the editing process that's done in the fucking Windows default editor. What are you called? You're called like fucking Clipchamp or whatever the fuck. Don't edit videos there. That's not a good editor. That's not a good video editor. That's like that makes file sizes like 4 billion. Okay, I've tried it before. It's not amazing, I'm not gonna lie. Then it gets uploaded to YouTube. I could check what link that is. I mean, I don't know. Should I check? I kind of want to check. Hold on. What video is this? ASNC IOE7 Q0K. What is this video? It's not available anymore, so it's deleted. It was entirely just for the sake of the seed. Okay, look, I had to find out. Okay, and yeah, overall they end up bowing out of the studio, saying thanks, and there we go. That's it. We got the credits, and the video ends. Alright then, it's time to see how CCU, which I believe is Camp Comic Uncamped, is going to do, starting with episode 1, After All This Time. Okay, so, that is CCU 1. So, alright. So, you know how people sometimes, sometimes people comment on my analysis of certain shows going like, yo, you're giving insightful analysis, you're like smart, you're putting thought into things. Well, I think that this moment might be my lowest, okay? Because will you believe that it took until right now, this moment, for me to realize this camp it's a camp. That's what this is. You know this show called Camp? It's a camp. How did I not clock this? Yes, it's a camp. It's a show, right? But like, this show is based off a camp. That's why everything is entries. That's why things are entries. But like, make a poster. The characters make a poster because the real person is making the poster. Yes, that's why people don't submit from time to time. It's because it's a camp. The person's actually, like, there's people who submit or don't submit. It's not just one guy. Oh god, no, I need to, what did the fucking orange juice say? No, you're not called orange. You are called orange. What the hell are you? Orange slushy? What is that? Like, I don't, whatever they said, yeah, no, you are slushy. You're like new slushy. You're like rebranded slushy. I'm gonna shove it inside a blender. Yes, I probably deserve it. Yes, I deserve that. Wow. So stupid. Okay, anyways, now that we got the very obvious detail that I somehow missed out of the way, we have ourselves the beginning. We're at Miguel's house. We end up having them draw the characters with some proper cinema shots. I'm not gonna lie. Look at all those camera angles. They end up drawing Magnet and eventually teleporting into the soup where Magnet alongside Captions and hosting the show. Last time, Magnet was just entirely kind of like a realtor, pretty much going like, all right, yo, you get to, you can use my studio, you can rent out my studio for the sake of using the show. However, in this case, they're directly helping with co-hosting, and they're even holding hands at the end of it. They don't admit that they're gay, however, they do scream when Silly mentions it, so probably. We have the two teams. The team name, Team 1, features B, just the letter B because the level. Slushy, whatever the hell the other thing is. I don't know. It looks like, is that a popcorn or is that a freaking ice cream? I don't know. And then we have Calendar. So this team is solid. Calendar seems to be in a much more chilled out mode than they were in season 1. So yeah, the other fellas are cool. We have Mossy with a new asset. This team also has a triangle that seems to be socially like kind of. How do I say this? Socially non-adept in the sense that like they're worried. They have anxiety. Okay, whatever it is the word. So they seem to do that, and then they end up having their challenge to be to submit the. Wait, what was the challenge? To submit the best drawing. And then I believe the best drawing ends up going to... Is it to Mossy's drawing? Yeah, I think their team wins with their overall drawings, okay? But yes, Alright, then one thing that I also do want to definitely say is, oh my god, this vote to save screen is so good. Yo, they're all just sitting there. They have like idle animations. That's like fire, you know? Because a lot of the time, like they are put like next to each other a lot of the time. But the fact that they have idle animations, that's sick. That's like actually really cool. But yeah, all right. Gonna be for real. The camp is a camp, guys. I can't believe it. Can't believe. Honestly, I'm freaking super shocked. It is uncamped. I don't know if that means anything. I don't. My mind was blown until I was like, oh yeah, this camp is a camp. I'm so stupid. Alright, CCU2 is titled That Is Why Screen Time is Important. Go. Alright, that is Camp Comic Uncamped episode 2. So, we have ourselves a much more jerky episode, because I was wondering, right? I was like, alright, so how is this screen time gonna go up? Alright, because at the end of the day, I was like, the episodes are getting longer, right? However, for what reason? What is actually gonna happen? And it just seems like it's taking itself a little bit more time to just pull off gags, you know, like to do the gag that it needs, being a bit like less directly forced in universe, right? Like overall, if it does the gag with Hey 2, you know, the bigger cake, yeah, sure, why not, right? Same thing goes to do the Smash Bros gag at the end, right? Why not? At the end of the day, it's kind of it's non-serious, right? So that makes sense. Even like reading the votes calendar contributed to inflation because it affected the global market. So true, right? But like, I like if that is an actual reason, because I always spent all the $1 trillion. Like, okay, fun. But yeah, that's yeah. There's cool stuff going on, for sure. But yeah, or like the prize being the script. Like, see, it takes itself way less serious for real, right? Because at the end of the day, while episode 1, no, sorry, Camp Comic, I felt like it was still trying to uphold the logic of a world that wasn't this one, right? Like, it was still trying to play along with the fact that, okay, yo, we're in a different world and they're in a studio and they're doing a thing, right? Like, they're not like the things from this world don't actually impact them, but in this case, we've just completely scrapped that, right? We just done that out the window, right? Yo, this is a camp, like, you know what we're doing. All right, roughly, I guess. And then we end up having ourselves the situation here where the eliminated contestant ends up being Calendar after a tie and a double wheel spin that doesn't go Calendar's way. That wheel spin is so fake, it's funny. So yeah, Calendar ends up getting eliminated from first to last. I think that a lot of people underestimate the cool possibility of having a winner again, right? Like, I understand the theoretical idea, like, oh, Canada shouldn't be here, you know, I already won. But, like, to be fair, I do think a lot of people underestimate the possibility of, like, yo, having somebody who's, like, done this and is proven good and is proven a capable player, it can make for some interesting possibilities. But in this case, goodbye immediately, Calendar. Ends up absolutely dipping away, and they end up running away, in fact. So the challenge is to get them, just catch them. And you know what the winning team ends up doing, the other team doesn't do anything. Yet again, it still suffers from the problem of, like, the team that is up for them barely actually does anything. You know, it's a bro moment, right? But yes, yeah, even the gag with the BFDIA, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we end up having the team put magnets, one magnet on the city, and then the other magnet they eventually catch them to not Team Cool, the other team, end up finding them, finding Calendar, snatching the magnet onto them, and then activating it. So that way, those magnets attach, and Calendar ends up at the city, so they get sufficiently eliminated, I guess. But while there is more plot going on, in the sense that, like, you know, there's a bit more story to the episodes, I still feel like there isn't too much. Like, the main thing that this show suffers from is a lack of arc. You know, it suffers from a lack of arc because it just feels like there's never any arc happening. right? You can say, does there need to? And the answer is no, there doesn't need to. However, it's definitely beneficial if there is, right? Because it makes a show feel more complete when there's arcs, character development, character growth, characters liking each other, not liking each other, right? But this show doesn't do any of that, right? And at the end of the day, it's a reason is probably because of the camp nature of it that I hadn't originally clocked, right? However, like in general, I think that because I didn't know if they're all friends, otherwise they wouldn't do it, right? So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like you can't. It's weird to make these characters dislike or really like each other because that's weird. However, at the same time, you have to do it if you want to make the show be better. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually like. Will we try to do arcs with these characters? Like, is this actually a thing? Like, are we going, or like, are we actually gonna ever go into it? Go like, yes, I'm going to do arcs with these characters and everything. Or not. I don't really know. And I'm kind of half doubting it. It also, this is suffering yet, just like season 1, this is suffering from that same issue of the team that is up for Elam is just the one that doesn't do anything. It's a problem. The team that loses should be the one on the screen. However, of course, you're gonna want to show the team that found the winning strategy, right? So it makes sense. Yet again, I absolutely think that these vote to save screens. Honestly, these vote to save screens are probably, to me, they're literally the highlight. Right, like, well, everything is solid for its level. I think that these vote to save screens, these are genuinely extremely good. This is this is a show, but like this scene is, these vote to save screens are the show punching way above its weight. Like, it is like, these are nearly too good for the show. It's actually crazy. But yeah, all right. Episode 3 of CCU is titled, "Is anyone concerned about the whole?" All right, let's go. Alright, so that is episode 3 of CCU. So, no, yeah, I mean, it's generally just unbelievable how different of a vibe it is. And yeah, I mean, I do really think that it's what I said. Like, in a Cam comic, we're trying to pass off an illusion of reality, right? Like, an illusion of a world, right? An illusion that this is their own object world. They have studios, right? They have, like, monetary budgets and everything. They have to just do the stuff, right? However, in this series, that's not what we're supposed to be doing, right? Like, just simply, I don't know how to say this. Like, imagine just the total amount of BFDI references in this and be like, would Cam Comic have done this? Would they actually have taken the time to do these references in a Cam Comic? They wouldn't. They would not have done it, right? Which gives it a different vibe, but I think it also, yes, this feels way more, I think it feels way more campy, in a way, not in the a proper term of it, but like, you know, it kind of feels like a camp. I feel like if I watched CCU 1 first, I would have clocked it. However, by watching Cam Comic does a pretty good job at disguising it, right? But this one doesn't. Like, this one just plays full meme. It goes at whatever, bro. We are memeing it. And they do indeed meme it, and it does. It indeed gets memed. We end up having ourselves the situation. So, what do we have? The eliminated contestant ends up being the triangle. That makes perfect sense. They pretty much don't. They don't. Whoa, voice crack. They don't get to really do much. In the episode. In episode 1, they don't get to do much. Episode 2, the one character is kind of weird. And this is that they just kind of appeared, didn't have too much of a design going for them, right? They were just kind of a character, right? So bye. We had I love the gag of the animatic battle intro. Then they're just there on the floor laying dead. The challenge is to get something cool from the meteor, from the crater, right? So obviously half of the people decide to go digging instead. Wait, no, I thought you were supposed to find something from the hole, right? And the idea, like, there's a giant hole in the ground, there's gotta be some cool stuff in it. Like, no, you're not supposed to dig a new hole. You're right, hold on. You're not supposed to dig a new hole. You're supposed to use the hole that you already have, right? Am I dumb? I swear. I think, what? I don't know. I don't know, bro. Anyways, yes, we end up having, Wait, hold on. Let me 100% clock here the challenge. The challenge, they should find something that hole right there. Yeah, they don't find something in that hole right there. They just dig another fucking hole. Everybody does the challenge wrong. Disqualified from the camp. Get rid of the rolls. Like, what is this, bro? Okay. But yeah, so we end up finding a rocket. Silly ends up finding whatever that is, like a Blu-ray of the OSC, and then Milkshake finds a meteorite, and they end up being up for elimination alongside B and Slushy, who I don't even think were there. So yeah, who's getting eliminated? Probably B. To be honest, I think I think that makes the most sense, right? And yeah, that should be all. Camp Comic is now on IMDb. Let's go. Stars Miguel Faria. Can I go look at it? Are we still here? Is this Camp Comic original? Hold on, I'm curious. 7.6 out of 10. All right, great, good stuff. Yes, it does indeed have all of these characters. Nice. Reviews. 10 reviews. What is this? Is there any review? Show all reviews. Okay, none of them have anything. Whatever. I'm getting fucking distracted by the reviews of Camp Comic. Okay, I find it funny when people put stuff up on IMDb. Okay, I don't know how IMDb works. But yeah. All right. Dude, my brain is like fried. I did not dedicate enough time in the day to properly covering this series. Unfortunately, I made a mistake. No, I'm not gonna be able to do it. This is so sad, bro. This is so sad. I'm not gonna be able to do it. Like, my brain is fried. I can already tell by the way that, like, have you noticed that this review is weird? Right? Have you noticed how like not have spoken properly, like half of the thing that I've been supposed to speak? Yeah, I'm just been proper wrong. But hey, at least fish. You know, shout out to fish. Fish are cool, all right. I'm a fan of fish. I like Mossy's obsession with fish. At least it's doing that. And hey, you know, at least with the fact that they're using the hole, does allow them for like, you know, we are starting to form a set of locations. You know, there's the city where presumably the studio was. Now they're in the grassland. There's this meteor. There's a hole. Then there's water. Right? Like, you know. There does seem to be a little bit more of a collection of a landscape going on, right? Which Camp Comic completely didn't do. Like, for example, in Camp Comic, there were the woods in one episode, and there was cats in one episode, but Captions cats never show up again, and the woods never showed up again in Camp Comic, and it's like, well, that's kind of weird, right? Because like, what's going on, right? So we end up having all of that jazz be kind of a problem, right? So yeah. Alright, next up, I will watch this another day because I don't know what I'm saying at this point. Is episode 4 done with the code? Alright, let's go. Alright, so that is episode 4 of Camp Comic Uncapped. Interesting episode for sure because, like, it is, by quite a bit, right? The biggest episode so far of the series. It sits at like 8 minutes and a half. But however, despite the fact that it sits at 8 minutes and a half, it's the next day. By the way, I don't know if you can realize this by audio. I feel like it is possible to realize this by audio, but like I don't know if people do. But yes, it's the next day. But like, despite the fact that it is longer, it doesn't actually do too much with the additional time. You know, it doesn't feel that much grander. There is, however, an IRL segment here at the start, just like how episode 1 had an IRL segment. Here we have an IRL segment. Shout out to washing your hands. If you haven't tried to do that before, I would recommend it. I think it's pretty solid. And then we end up having well, you know, just starting to make the comic for a Camp Comic Uncapped 3, the third one, which, I mean, you can debate that I don't know what that is. However, at the same time, okay, here's the deal. I'm not 100% sure what the history of Camp Comic is, because you saw that in Camp Comic 0, it asks you to read a comic that's called, like, it was, oh god, what's it called? A new whatever. Sorry. But like, basically, so I'm not 100% sure if Camp Comic ever actually was a comic, right? Because at the end of the day, like, what this is, I mean, it doesn't really feel like camp comic uncamped. It feels like camp comic uncomicked, because it's not a comic, right? However, it's kind of interesting, but I don't know. That segue, eventually the post-credit scene says that there was nothing there, so that's kind of, I don't know. So is that because all I'm saying is that, like, Camp Comic Uncamp 3, how would that exist? Right? Because it's like Camp Comic 3 could exist if this is Camp Comic 2, but Camp Comic Uncamped 3 would imply the existence of a Camp Comic Uncamped 2, which wouldn't exist because this is Camp Comic Uncamped 1. That makes sense. Do you understand where the criticism's coming from, right? I don't, whatever. But yeah, Captions is waiting for the votes to roll in, so they just bring everybody into the woods and go like, yo, go like walk, whatever, I don't give a shit. So they go off adventuring into the middle of nowhere. We get to discover that Silly's, apparently everybody on their species, every single person on their species was on one plane to go somewhere. However, the plane crashed and everybody on their species died except for Silly themselves, which is, not a very heartwarming story. That is quite sad. I don't know how the entirety of a species can go in the same friggin' plane together. Like, that's gotta be, they were going to an important event. But yes, eventually they get out of the woods and into the snowy part of the woods. I know, right? Crazy. They eventually find a cabin. They break it open because it was locked. And you know who's there? Captions. That was the shocking music. That was the becoming shook music. That was like the boom, But yeah, so we end up having the elimination now. But before we do the elimination, oh yeah, so this circle fella and this like punching glove fella, they end up taking the opportunity to steal some remains, some computer remains and a laptop from closed captions, and eventually get to work with it. They are trying to fix the mech, so some robotic entity that Captions possesses or owns, apparently. And they also dug the hole, which distracted them. Even though I will just start to debate that the fact that, I mean, yes, the hole did distract them a lot, but right now that has nothing to do with anything. Right, like the reason why they're currently distracted has nothing to do with the hole they all made. But okay, bro. But yeah, not really sure what's going on there. They hide in a tree, a surprisingly spacious tree that ends up being a portal into like a gray room. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the punching glove says something weird to the circles, like "How are you back?" or something, which is interesting. And they don't let them actually say the reason. You see, that is the type of stuff that I expect to be missing context, right? Like that's what I'm expecting to be like, oh, yo, the comic about the old thing is where this stuff coming in, right? However, I mean, I don't really know, right? But yes, we now have the elimination ceremony with 18 votes, no record, and we can get ourselves the comments. I like how we picked the weirdest comments to read to each character. Shout out to whoever just said Tom for milkshake. It's great. So we end up having ourselves the reward being thumbnails, and the eliminated contestant ends up being milkshake with 3. I don't think I got that correct, but to be fair, it was kind of difficult. So yeah, milkshake ends up going home. However, they can't. The magnet that yeets them over into the city, it does not function anymore because there's too many other magnets attached to it. Which means that Milkshake just has to get punished a different way. So what is the new punishment for Milkshake? The punishment is to go all the way to the ocean, remove your milkshake, and fill yourself up with water instead. So pretty much just remove. Okay, wow. So like literally the request is, yo, can you go over there, remove yourself, and just become water? Like, you're literally asking them to lose their entire identity. Which probably wouldn't even work. Like, realistically speaking, I mean, it kind of depends on how exactly objects work here. However, it is kind of, I feel like it's an half unspoken rule in how object shows like kind of operate, that you'll notice nearly always if there's a character that's a liquid, as soon as their liquid gets spilled, like they don't possess the liquid anymore, they nearly always become incapacitated. Like that's kind of how it goes. Like they need that liquid to function. It's like blood, it's like their blood. So like if it gets filled up with water, would it work? I feel like they wouldn't even, it'd be kind of complicated. So yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I mean, I'd rather just get flung somewhere random than have to lose my entire identity. But okay then, it's kind of mean. I'd rather do 100 push-ups, bro. But yeah, the challenge anyways is to build a cabin. Yes, cabin building, let's go. The two teams build a cabin. One team orders a cabin online while the other team ends up building one in Minecraft. The Minecraft cabin, I mean, it's alright. It's pretty small, it's cozy, and it's well presented. However, yeah, the other one is just much more spacious. This is why you order things on the internet, kids. But yeah, I mean, on an objective standpoint, it definitely makes 100% sense to just go fetch a cabin rather than trying to build one. If you're allowed to do that, because apparently you're allowed to do anything. You can buy one, you can rent one, way, so you can do anything. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, just go buy a cabin instead of having to build one yourself, because that, first of all, that's faster and it's likely to be higher quality. Like you can maybe add your own furniture inside or whatever, but like in general, the cabin itself, I think, yeah, if you can order one or find one, I think that's better than having to build one yourself, right? Which means that those fellas are up for Elam. However, also, there is recommended debut. Yes, so are our characters. And we have some kind of interesting characters. The 8 balls, because it's 8 balls, yes. Angel Cube, vote for me and I'll save your soul. Chalk, which walks with their arms. Cyan Marker, which is proceeding, which I swear, you're like, are you good? Green Marker does not like you. And then there's some other fellas. As well, Egg, who gets chased by a bomb, and yeah, the other fellas. I think it's time for Cyan Marker, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's time. I think it's Cyan Marker time. I'm gonna be absolutely for real. I think it's time. Alright? Get Cyan Marker into the game. I need to see those two actually interact, because they've just talked about each other in passing, but I need to see them actually interact. I think it's time. Come on, Cyan Marker, get in there. Alright. It is time now for episode 5, the biggest one by a considerable margin. It is titled With a Bit of Spice. Let's go! Alright, that is the 5th and the biggest episode of the Camp Comic Uncamped Camp. And we have ourselves, quite a bit of stuff going on. Warning! Okay, there's a photosensitive warning. Why? Because I don't remember. I mean, presumably, like, that one scene with the montage, the calf montage, not really a montage, the thing, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, we can go with that. It's also June 18th on the time of that, is it June 18th of the time that episode released? The episode released on June 18th, yeah, so it was the 1 year anniversary, good job. And yes, we first have a new discovery, the fellas from, the fellas, that were stuck on a magnet ended up finally managing to separate themselves from the magnet, and therefore are allowed to do whatever they want now. They want to go back to the showgrounds, though, because they want to get revenge on the fellas for doing the whole shebang, right? But yeah, after 3 weeks, we end up having the debut voting. First, the debut voting ends up being 2 people joining, and Cyan Marker's not one of them. I'm surprised. You see, I'm a bit confused about this Cyan Marker, right? Because, like, wasn't there the Cyan... Hold on. Who was trying to join Season 1? Give me a moment. I guess it's, like, it's a different person. Right, surely. Hold on. Because it's, like... Hold on, let me check. Well, you were a Cyan Marker, right? That was up for... Were you? Or was it... No. Yes. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm trying to call... Yes, that is a Cyan Marker. Okay, but that is a different Cyan Marker than this Cyan Marker. Because remember, when Green Marker I was trying to rejoin. I was like, yo, my cousin got out, didn't get in, so you should let me in, right? And that worked, I think, as well. So like, I mean, the fact that now this sign marker, first of all, this sign marker is fucking beat up, half destroyed. Okay, and not only is half destroyed, for some reason they despise each other, which is what happened? The bonds, they were destroyed. What in the world? But I mean, like, if you think about it, the same thing kind of applies to some other things as well, right? Like, are these characters the same characters? Yes, but also no, right? In the same way where it's like, for example, a character like Slushy looks completely different. Than how they do, which, I mean, I first just thought, yo, it's a redesign, but I guess I don't technically know. It could just be a different character, right? Like, that is a possibility, in the same way that this sign marker is realistically probably just a different character than the sign marker that tried to debut in Camp Comic, because they look different, they have a different design, which are, those mean the same thing. But, and then they also have a different relationship. So like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But the two contestants that end up joining are the duo of Memory Stick Pro Duo, which I cannot for the life of me figure out if they have an accent or not. I think they do. It kind of depends on the line. And then Minnesota, who joins because I don't Minnesota. Okay. Look, it's a brand of soda. Pot gets over here, manages to start dissing everybody, be like, I'm mad, y'all people up for the joining and not anything, hashtag Pot Nation, but no, they end up getting absolutely yeeted away. And then we end up having the elimination vote. So the elimination vote ends up having ourselves the bottom contestant and the eliminated contestant being none other than Mossy. Yes, indeed, Mossy. And they're getting eliminated, which is very unfortunate because I like Mossy. I think Mossy is cool. However, Mossy ended up getting eliminated. While Mossy was getting eliminated, we also ended up having Green Marker sort of space out a little bit during the course of the elimination, kind of getting in their own head, quite literally. And that they end up starting to, have these flashbacks. They enter this land, and they end up having a chat with Aster about the rejoin, which is interesting. And this is what they end up panicking about, which is okay. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not 100% sure why. I'm not 100% sure why that's the memory, right? Because, why is the memory about the rejoin that the Green Marker won? That's why I'm confused. Why is that giving you the anxiety? I thought, the rejoin would be good, no? Or, what? So, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't understand. Because, you're feeling anxiety about the thing that went well for you, right? If if it feels the opposite, I feel like you'd want to rejoin because last time you did well in the rejoin. It's kind of that type of thing. But either way, it doesn't matter because they don't end up getting eliminated, and Mossy ends up getting eliminated. Interesting thing, by the way, that we do actually need to talk about. New voting system has changed. It is apparently now a rating system. I believe of 1 through 5 stars. You give stars, right? Because and the average count is there, and then the lowest average goes down. So the rating is a very interesting system, right? For voting. Okay, that I think has been considered in quite a bunch of aspects. However, it doesn't tend to be super functional. All right, because the thing about rating, right, is that when you are rating something, you need to put a lot more. You need to think a lot more about finer details, right? When you're rating something out of 10, for example, whether somebody's a 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, right? You gotta think about more finer details. That means that you need to have a more thought out opinion of a character to be able to properly rate them, right? Which is a which is a thing. However, it ends up that they don't most of the time, people don't have enough of an opinion on everybody to be able to rate them properly, right? And therefore they will do a lot of the extreme ratings of the scale, right? Like, for example, I don't know if you've ever noticed, go to Google Play. Go to literally any app on the Play Store, and you will notice that the ratings are either like 5 stars or they're 1 stars. The amount of people that actually use the star ratings from 2 to 4 is surprisingly slim, because it requires a more nuanced opinion rather than just I like it or I don't like it, right? So I don't think on average it's a great idea to have ratings as a system, because it encourages people to kind of like have opinions of things they probably won't have an opinion on, right? Like, they'll have an opinion on some characters, but on everybody probably not, right? So yeah. However, I think that it's one of those things where it's like, this problem, I believe, is much more indicative at the top than it is here, right? Like, I think this show can survive with it because there's not that many people voting. However, the more people there are voting, I believe the more this becomes a problem, right? Like, I don't think, I think BFDI doing a rating system would end in disaster. It would be bad. So, in general, like, I think that this, for this show, it's fine. The bigger shows probably shouldn't do this, unfortunately, because, yeah, the ratings are reserved for a judge panel. Tokens are back because, I don't know, nostalgia bait, and silly ends up getting the token for allowing them to be safe for any given challenge. The eliminated contestants go over and cheer, and then we have the new teams, because, yes, we end up renaming our teams. Team Cool ends up renaming themselves to Team Cooler, because, yep, they're cool and they're this is a great logo. This is a fire logo. And the other fellas end up renaming themselves to the Big Shots because they found a gun that shoots big shots. Haha. I don't think they are actually ever gonna use this gun. Me in episode 9 going like, yo, oh my god, it's the gun. But no, I don't think they're gonna use it. So yeah, Cooler is Green Marker, Silly, and the Memory Stick, and Big Shots is Minnesota, Slushy, and the Bee. One of the things that I'm kind of half surprised about, like, you'll notice that I'm kind of surprised about, is that, like, you know, for being a camp, right, like, I'd say overall, right, I think that one of the things that surprised me kind of the most about it is that, there's not so much, like, proper leading characters in terms of skill. You know, like, I feel like when in a camp, usually, right, I feel like you can tell when some people are just kind of different, you know? Like, camps tend to have, like, that person that's just kind of dominant for a bit, or at least for a portion of time. But especially in the way that the show's written, there's not a way where, like, there doesn't really feel like there's a dominant character, you know? Like, in general, which is kind of weird, because, I mean, if these people, like, in the nicest way possible, it's impossible that everybody in the show has the exact same skill level. However, at the same time, like, the elimination keeps swapping hands, and it keeps like, you know, it feels like every character and therefore every person is very evened out with each other in terms of their capabilities, right? Which is interesting, because it's like, I don't know, I feel like there would have been more of a gap between them, but the show at least doesn't display if there is. And yeah, we end up having a new intro that's based on the BFB intro, which, what is it called? Music of Force 3D Hand, I think it's called. But yes, it's look, it's a good theme. I never actually mind hearing the BFB theme again, because, like, who wouldn't want to hear the BFB theme again, bro? Like, it's fire, bro. Yo-Yo Cake was cooking when they made that one. And either way, it is now time to head to the challenge. So the challenge ends up being teleporting themselves to an island, a Minecraft island, and the challenge is hide and seek. There's a lot of things around, and you simply just have to hide, and the Captions will eventually go look for you. With 10 minutes of time, apparently. So yeah, it's a hide and seek challenge. It's kind of interesting, you know. I feel like hiding spots are... It's a little bit complicated, I think. Personally, Oh yeah, here's the deal. This is entirely my opinion. Personally, I'm not a gigantic fan of hide and seeks. Entirely because I feel like hide and seeks are cool when you have a perspective of the location, right? However, like in this case, I don't really have a perspective of the location. There's a million things, right? However, this applies to just hide and seek in general. I know, like, a lot of YouTubers like that big hide and seeks, and it's like, okay, yes, but I don't know where you are, right? But like in general, I think that it's interesting. However, though, like that is entirely my opinion. I know a lot of people like it, and I see why people like. It's high stakes. Like, ooh, will you get found? But yeah, B gets found first after hiding in the slides, and eventually getting caught before they could escape. Then eventually we end up having the memory stick who was tired of hiding in the bathroom, so they ended up hiding in they ended up trying to hide somewhere else, but it got caught on the way. Yeah, I should have just stayed in the bathroom, bro. Somebody, like, bro, they checked the bathroom, and you were there and didn't get spotted, which means that at that point, you just gotta stay there. Like, it's the point where somebody checks the location, doesn't see you in it, and then leaves. I mean, that, you just gotta stay there, bro. You gotta take the risk. Nah, you can't. You can't be doing that. You can't be leaving after. But yes, eventually Captions end up calling over Manor, who TPs it in there, and those two end up now chasing together. So, new thing that happens. So, Boxing Glove is here to make a deal. Yes, so we are channeling our inner teapot, and we are offering deals. Now, what the hell's the deal? I don't know, really. Do you want immunity with this challenge? They will help you get immunity with this challenge with this deal. They proceed to do nothing. Okay, well, no, here's the deal. Okay, I don't know what the fuck this deal is, because it's like, they proceed to do nothing for nothing. Like, they've not actually earned, like, Bossing Glove didn't get anything, you know? Like, it's not, yeah, they didn't receive anything. But even though they didn't receive anything, like, Green Marker didn't get help. You know? Like, they got found at exactly the same time as Slushy at the end, and they just luck meant that they survived. You know? Like, there wasn't any assistance there. Right? Which is, I'm kind of confused. Like, what the fuck was the deal? What was the... I do nothing, you do nothing sign. Yes, sure. I mean, what? I don't know. This kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. Yes, then we have the flashing lights, presumably compilation. Not gonna lie, I see the idea that said, oh, he keeps looking at all the places, but he only took images of 3 places, so it just cycles to the same 3 images like 60 times. You needed like way more. And yeah, and then lore is happening. Oh yeah, lore is happening. So over there in the city, okay, the news happens. And then this fella, so this circular fella, this caller fella, who is from the comic, a comic, ends up checking their phone, and there's a USB with a phone, which is kind of interesting. So so they have a phone for which is USB's property. Somehow, then they're going to the police department and asking where USB is. And apparently USB has been missing, and they end up giving over USB's address, which, by the way, great, wait a minute. The person's been missing, and they've just been chilling at home the entire time. I'm sorry, wait, what? Yes, missing person dropped. What? Yo, I know this guy kind of missing, but I know his address. I was like, no, then they're not missing. What do you mean? They're just at home. Did nobody see them? Did nobody try to be a telemarketer? But yes, then this caller fella ends up getting, you're not a caller, you're like a bracelet, whatever, ends up being like, yo, this your phone? And I was like, okay, they end up asking USB to open it, and they do end up opening it, and I don't know, they get shown a place, which is interesting. I mean, I don't really know what's going on, because, like, okay, what could possibly be happening? I don't know. What? So, like, hold on. Let me go back. Hold on. I gotta check this for a moment. What are these flashbacks? I need to check. What are these, like, little comic strips? Hold on. Also here, call the cops. Password is 1701. Hey, bracelet, are you good? This is like it's like a tablet. USB. So they were together. Okay. USB has no recollection of this phone that's theirs. And then it got a buzz as if it got a message, which is interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Stuff's happening over there. I have no clue what it is. Gonna be 100% honest. Like, knowledge, don't got that. But yeah, either way, eventually, yes, as I said, Slushy gets found last second. Right before green marker, so green marker got lucky there that they were safe. However, we ended up still having a second go around at the hide and seek, just kind of for fun. As the prize ended up being a switch token. And the winner ended up being Slushy this time around between Slushy and Green Marker. And Slushy got, and this time Green Marker got found, which means that Slushy won a switch token, which they used to switch Green Marker onto their team. So that's, they have the advantage now. We have the rating screen. Who is going to get out? I don't know. Probably Minnesota, because they got immediately up for Elam again. But honestly, I don't really know. Either way, it is time now for episode 6 of CCU. We're getting there. There's only about 2 more to go. Episode 6 of A Camp Comic Uncamped is titled We All Like Steak. Alright, so that is episode 6 of CCU, or Camp Comic Uncamped. So this is actually, I think, the first non-competition episode of Camp Comic Uncamped, because, technically episode 0, right, of Camp Comic, was a non-competition episode. However, yeah, it feels like it's kind of a non-competition episode on accident, because I feel like it's not really trying to push forward too much. Okay, it is trying to push forward what's going on, right? However, even though it's trying to push forward what's going on, it doesn't make any major moves. It doesn't feel like any story has taken a massive step forward. It feels like everything's taken one step forward, but there's still there's another leg that has to move, and it's not really moved that much, right? So, that's, kind of interesting. We have some fellas playing Uno, who has been chilling there. And then Slushy's apparently found a chicken at the restaurant, which is closed because, they were doing the competition. So they just took a chicken from there while paying with emeralds that they stole or something. I don't know. But, they eventually robbed anything. We end up having some other fellas going over. Silly and going like, whatever, okay, fine, we're not playing Udo anymore, I'm gonna go play Deltarune. And he's like, yo, what the hell's good about Deltarune anyways? And then Silly comes back and goes and murders them. It's like, come on, bro, he didn't even diss it. If B was like, yo, Deltarune's mid, I don't like it, it's lame. Then it's like, okay, but they asked a question, They didn't say, I played Deltarune and it wasn't good. They said, I didn't. They literally are straight up, I didn't play Deltarune. Yo, what's good about it? I don't know. You need to know. Come on. It's our question, bro. This is an overreaction of the century. Nah, bro. Silly, you need to stop. Silly, you need to go bye-bye. Yeah, it's just such a dumb reasoning. Minnesota and the Memory Stick Pro duo, those two keep hanging out as kind of the logical duo of the new contestants. And then in the meantime, we end up having Calendar show up again, because here's the deal: Calendar and Triangle have been relaxing. Relaxing. They've been adventuring off on a boat to try to find the island again. Because Calendar says, being eliminated first, ruining my reputation. They gotta get back there. Which is fair. And then Triangle's like, yo, it's not that bad, So here we're not getting judged. We just get to sit around on a street doing nothing. I guess. Okay, well, look, here's the deal. I think the residents were judging them. I'm not gonna lie. There's some people who see their... Hold on, what shows up here? Born and raised here. As always, there are some people here who experience... But not always there, as there are people who get to experience their own different stories. And then we get an image of Circle Fella, who is imported. Okay, you know what? Gonna be absolutely for real. I have no idea who this is. This is important character from comic, where I don't actually get from New Soup or whatever it's called, to where the point where it's like, I don't know like we not learned enough about this guy for me to understand what the fuck this is. But yeah, they're right there in the middle of many parts. So like they didn't build the mech though. So I don't know. And it's and also of course I have to make the thing. If that's a circle, this is a triangle. Are you two related? I don't know. Right? Like it's kind of an interesting situation. But yeah. Eventually, guess who shows up at the cabin? Milkshake shows up at the cabin, because remember, which Milkshake's challenge, Milkshake's punishment was to go over and replace their milkshake with water, which has to be one of the most evil punishments I think I've ever seen. Literally every other punishment that the people suggested was probably a better idea than this, because it's one of those things where like if the punishment is just you get your milkshake swapped out with water, like that would suck. That would be really bad, right? However, it wouldn't be that bad. However, the thing about it is that the punishment is that you have to go do it yourself. You know, like it's like self-inflicted torture. It's actually so sad. It's actually such an unbelievably sad occurrence. Dude, I hope nobody else suffers the fate that this milkshake has suffered, bro. But yeah, Mossy is very worried about them. Is like, I am going to go out there, find some milkshakes, okay, and y'all take care, okay, which is nice. Alright, so you see that's evolving. We're gonna get to see that hopefully. I need milkshake revenge arc has to happen, bro. That was evil. Alright, so USB keeps getting shown a bunch of people, and they start remembering the people since they won the new soup. Yes, the new soup is the comic that precedes Camp Comic. Alright, at CC0 it said, yo, you should probably know about this. Which is that, okay, cool. I still think that it's relatively unrealistic to expect somebody to read it before you drop into this, because at the end of the day, it's a different type of media, right? It's in the same way where like I think BFFB is a bad idea. Why is BFFB a bad idea? Because like BFFB is a bad idea because you can't reasonably expect people to play a game. In the middle of their watching. Like imagine you're binging be at the end, like, nope, video game, and it's like, okay, I mean, maybe they wouldn't mind playing it, but at that moment, not really, right? That's why I think it's kind of a bad idea. So same thing goes here. Like it's kind of like I came here to watch a show, like I wasn't really ready to read comics, so I ain't reading it, which, I mean, I'm suffering from that, of course, at the end of the day, right? Like, me not understanding who the circle fella is, what the new soup is, what the hell happened with those people. Like, yes, that is on me for not having read it, okay? So, even though I do know that is on me, right, it is one of those things where, again, I still believe that it is useful for me to share this perspective, because I believe that this is the most common perspective that you are gonna have. Right? If you have a more niche piece of media that, like a niche piece of your lore that you're referencing in your main piece of lore, majority of people who are watching your main piece of lore won't know about the niche piece of lore, right? Which means that I am directly giving a probably pretty, like, a different perception than the usual, entirely because I'm out here, like, in a different situation than the usual, right? Okay. Anyways, we have USB starts remembering a couple of things, but they apparently were the winner. They won, okay? But for some reason, they got like their memory wiped or whatever the hell. I don't like they won the new soup, but they got their memory wiped at some point. So like they really do not remember anything. But they're starting to remember some people. They even remember Bracelety's name, which is Bracelety. Yeah, so they do that. And then we end up having ourselves the elimination. 16 votes at the elimination. We end up having ourselves some comments right there in the middle. Oh yeah, randomly a completely glitched version of Captions drops into the scene and starts glitching the hell out. And then like proceeds to disappear. Nobody has any idea what the hell that is. To be honest, I don't like to be. There is no way to know. Right? Like, I mean. I would say it was. Y'all just kind of keep it moving, but yes, of course you will. Like, what you're gonna do something about it, right? I hope this is a setup for episode like 7 million, where they do a time travel episode. They do the Teapot 15, but yes, they end up having the rating system where we end up having the eliminated contestant beat B with a 2.88 total rating. Yes, it's kind of weird at the end of the day, also, this rating system, because the rating system kind of shows the volatility of how ratings tend to lean upwards, right? People tend to give nicer ratings. So it's like, hold on, like, B got eliminated with more than half of the total amount, right? Like, they were in the top half of ratings in total, right? They're 2.88, right? If it's 5, then 2.5 is a halfway point, so they were better than half of the ratings, but they still get out, right? Like, they were close to 3 stars and much, but in general, yeah. Then flying away, wow. And then the episode just ends, kind of a random, you know, not too much going on there. And apparently CSU7 was coming out in 2066. Did it come out in 2026? I mean, it came out. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if it was in 2026, but you guys will have to see. That does say we need who? What do they need? They need animators and voice actors. Okay. Yo, I'm hopping on. No, I'm joking. I mean, maybe. I still love the freaking the fact that this clock from ITFT that showed up as one gag in episode like 1 is still part of the credits. Like, you do not need to be here. You do not need to be here. We understand. Like, you haven't shown up in about 7 episodes. But okay, bro. Alright then. It's time for the latest episode of Camp Comic Uncamped, which is titled Will There Ever Be Time? Go. Alright, that is episode 7 of Comic Camp. Yes, of Camp Comic Unlimited. So remember a while ago when I said that I thought that this show was in a couple of episodes going to unleash its inner Teapot 15. Well, it has unleashed its inner Teapot 15 much earlier than I was expecting. It's actually unleashed it immediately. This is exactly that. Well, it's not exactly that concept, but at the end of the day, it's very similar. To the point where we end up having the challenge be to get 3 meals in the past. Why? I don't know. I don't know why we have to go to the past to get a meal. Like, what, did food run out? Like, what happened? But yeah, I don't know. And then they end up going over there, remember, on Team Cooler with 2 people and Team Big Shots, which has the green marker on it. So, yeah, they end up going off and adventuring using the time machines that exist now. And in the meantime, the boxing glove ends up going down there as well to the past, hiding throughout the back door to do whatever it is that they're doing. So, as I like to say with the Teapot 15, like, I'm not a big fan of just taking challenges from other shows that were original and doing it again. I'm not a massive fan, right? However, I do think that, like, if you are gonna take a challenge from another show and doing it again, I do believe that Teapot 15 is definitely one of the coolest. Like, because at the end of the day, like, it is just good. You know, like, that episode is just really good. And you can really see how much it resonates. Just that idea of going to the past, you know, it allows for so many ideas of, it unlocks so much, right? I would personally say, however, that, you know, when dealing with time, I think that show should be maybe a little bit more conservative, or with how, conservative, not the word, conservative is like a term, but, like, you know, they should be a little bit more careful, that's what I mean, with, like, having it be because of a good reason, right? I don't think that, like, this channel be like, oh, I want some food, go to the past, right? Like, I don't think it's exactly the best motivation to change the past, right? But yeah, either way, we end up having some situation. One thing I'm quite disappointed by is that in this episode, we don't get to see how the other captions that glitched out got there, because I thought, yo, the time travel episode, we're going to see how the hell that happened. But no, we don't actually get to see how that happened, which is kind of weird. But either way, we end up having the fellas, they go to different eras of a new soup, apparently different comics of new soup, which is happening. Okay, I don't exactly know what is going on, but this is by far the most technically new soupy and it's like situation where like I know the least about what is going on here. However, they end up like apparent. Okay, so what happens? Apparently, dude. Okay, so new soup has something to do with broccoli. Okay, I don't know what it is, but there's this broccoli guy. Okay, so I've been trying. That's one thing that I've been trying to figure out that I completely don't know. There's this broccoli guy. Okay, that has been kind of a side character to the show, where like debatably, like if you're not paying attention, you won't notice this guy exists. But he acts as kind of like a recovery center that's being helped out. That's like helping out Captions in this situation, right? They don't just sit there and do that. And that's about it. But apparently they were maybe the host of New Soup, whatever that is. Because like they have the algebraianistic qualities to them, and also some people don't like them. They want to get revenge, right? So it's Bossing Glove who tells old Bossing Glove, "Don't you want to get revenge on the broccoli?" I mean, I don't like. Is that like? But then would this be after? But no. But then if New Soup happened, how would this be? Would this be after New Soup? When would this have happened? You know, like it's kind of weird. I kind of don't know what's going on out here. But either way. Bossing Glove ends up taking some fake arms and a hat. I don't. By the way, you can just attach fake arms to yourself, and now you can move them as if they're regular limbs. At that point, are they even fake? Those look like some pretty legit arms to me. But yeah, we end up doing a little bit of a robbery, and they go to their old Bossing Glove's house. To get them to convince, because for some reason they have to be the ones to do it. They have to be the ones to convince. They have to be the ones to sneak into the police and free the circle fella, so that they don't get arrested for lifetime. Sure, maybe. I don't really know. But either way, we end up having the other thing, which, you know, remember they're supposed to get food. One team. Okay, so the team over on the like the 5B or whatever it's called, ended up usually just kind of being in this land. There's not much going on there until they find a candy house, right? And in the candy house, they just so happen to find that there's 3 meals conveniently there, placed by somebody. We don't know who, but yeah. So they're just chilling. They get the meals. They teleport away, and they're not safe. I mean, but like, you know, they did it. They did it very effortlessly. They found food and they went back. I mean, the other team, the problem is that they're time machine immediately exploded as soon as they got back. No, as soon as they got there, right? So they end up getting one of those super engineers, paying them a lot of money, and fixing the time machine, while the other fella goes and fetches 30 meals from a restaurant. But they do end up doing, and they do end up getting back. However, right as they're about to get back, you know what happens? Silly drops them. Oof. Big drop. Big oof. Sad days here. I'm not gonna lie. But, yeah, draws it right on the floor and then loses the challenge, which means that Cooler is up for elimination. Memory Stick Pro Duo or Silly. I mean, my personal my personal opinion on what should happen here is absolutely, I think that Silly should get eliminated. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, why you not? Like, this guy has screwed up in the last like 2 to 3 challenges. Has been mean for like kind of no reason. Been like, oh yes, I can murder you because of Deltarune, and it's like, well, I mean, can you? That allowed? I mean, I don't know if they're gonna get eliminated, because like they're kind of like, I don't think they will. I'm gonna predict Memory Stick Pro Duo. However, Silly, 1 star. You know, 1 star review on Craigslist. No, look, I don't think Craigslist is reviews, but like I kind of not vibing with them. But yeah, I don't think they're getting eliminated. But even though I think that it'd be a thing if they did. But yeah, so that is Camp Comic Uncamped. We have reached the modern situation with the series. I still don't exactly know how this works, right? Because I watched Camp Comic and I was like, okay, I mean, it's called camp, but it's probably not a camp, right? Because it's got this challenge setting. Okay, sure. Then here, this felt very obviously a camp in return, right? Like I was starting to understand. Okay, so these characters are submitting, and these characters aren't submitting, right? Which makes sense. However, like, I'm not 100% sure of what the current, like, status of it is. Like, how does it work? Because these past few challenges haven't been very submission-based, you know? Like, they haven't been very submission-based. They've been a little bit more different. I mean, the Minecraft one, not really. Because the Minecraft one, you can just go do hide-and-seek in Minecraft. Right, like, you can just invite the boys, we're doing hide-and-seek. Right, like, you know, you don't need to... I'm trying to imagine how many of these challenges would function if they're literally just a camp challenge. And I feel like the first batch definitely did. The past few, I'm not 100% sure, right? Like, I was like, hold on, like, which ones? Like, this one is a little bit, like, this one would probably be the most complicated, because what would you do? It would be like, it would have had to be like a writing prompt, like, yo, if you were to fetch 3 meals from here, what would you fetch? I don't really know, right? Episode 5, yeah, that would have been like the hide and seek. You could do that. Episode 4 would be the cabin. I mean, depending on what it was, but they ended up both being cabin from a video game. Like, one was from Minecraft, the other one was loaded in another game. So yes, that one would have functioned. Episode 3, what was this? I don't even remember. I don't even remember, bro. Oh yeah, the digging the hole and find the best item. Yeah, you see, that's a submission challenge, right? Because like it was just like find the weirdest item, right? Like, you know, it was a lot of that stuff. So that's why at least if it's not a camp, it definitely feels like it more here, because it's like these submission based challenges. But at the end of the day, I do think that this is cool, and I also think that, like, I'm also confident in currently the camp idea, because every character is credited despite not being voice acted by the character, right? So like every character has a different name attached to it, like in like that original intro, right? Remember, it was like green marker as blank, but like blank didn't necessarily voice act green marker, you know, like that. So I was like, what do you mean as blank, right? So it's like, no, that's probably the player who's playing as the character, right? So that makes sense. But overall, because like at the end of the day, trying to figure this out obviously impacts the perception of the show. If it's entirely written, then I would, you know, start saying some stuff. However, if it's not written, right, and it's based on what happens in the camp itself, then it's more. Then it's solid, because it's like, you know, it's based on something you cannot directly control, which is the submissions, the ideas, and the arcs that build up naturally around the camp, right? However, yeah, that's kind of what I think. In general, I think that this show turns out pretty solid. The main critique that I had about Camp Comic was that it was very low stakes, in the sense that it felt so chill in the way that it functioned, that like there was no drama, not at all. In this, there's like a mild amount of drama, but even then you can still notice that like the people aren't too bothered. You know, like there's not too much at stake. Like even when Bossing shows up at random and tries to get the green marker to sign the deal, say, yo, do you want to sign my deal? And green marker goes like, no, not really. It's not that deep, right? And either way, that deal who signed literally did not change a damn thing. Nothing changed. So like, in general, I think that like it's better. Especially because it's dropping in more of that prior lore. Camp Comic also felt much more independent as a source than this series. This series feels like, in the way that like Camp Comic tells you to watch that comic, right? The new soup, whatever. However, what that one tells you, you don't really need that knowledge to watch that. You feel like you need it more to watch this. I'm not gonna lie. Which like... again, there's that level of understanding, but it's just those characters that don't show up and get mentioned. You know, like a character like Circle, like I can get what they are roughly from seeing their screen time here, right? Because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it has. However, even though I can see them based on their screen time here, a different character like Broccoli, for example, Broccoli is one of those characters who, in the current situation, is very irrelevant, right? They were important, right? There's one of those characters that they were important, and characters, when mentioning them, have this high importance perception of them. However, since we're not actually capable of looking at them in terms of screen time, because their present day presence is not nearly as large as their past presence, that means that for a character like Broccoli, I have no idea what this guy was. I am guessing that Broccoli was the host, because I don't know. There's nothing in the show that's telling me that Broccoli was a host. It's just the guess, right? It's just the guess from what I managed to pick up, but there's not a lot of pieces to pick up. I could be dead wrong. Maybe Broccoli was a contestant that betrayed something. I don't know, right? But yeah, there's not too much of this info here, right? For some characters, you know, for other characters, you know, like USB, I get it, right? For some character like Bracelet, you know, I get it, right? For the characters that get screen time who have path lore to them, their current screen time allows me to predict their path pretty well. However, it's just those characters that get mentioned in passing, all right? That is Camp Comic Uncamped. So, yes, I'm going to need the Object Catchup review on OSC Daily. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Well, it's time for the next thing that we're going to be watching in this fine day. Let's go to it. Alright, next up in the pile of RQs to do, we have Object Divided. So, Object Divided is the series created by Bluey ZX, creator with 330 subscribers, along with, well, the crew that makes it. It has an exponentially doubling length per episode. I'm not even gonna lie. Yes, it goes 1, 3, 5, 11, 12. Okay, it's not quite doubling, but, like, you know, the next episode probably gonna be like 23 minutes. But, well, we just gotta watch these 4 episodes, starting with episode 1, which released 4 months ago, Object Annihilator. Okay, so that is episode 1, pretty much like a path pilot. I don't even know if it's a pilot, it's like a prototype of what the concept would be. So we end up having ourselves these fellow characters who are stuck in a white void, apparently kidnapped, so maybe they're not supposed to be here. I don't know if there's a world outside of this white void. But yeah, they were kidnapped by that guy who's called Dude. He's animatic. If it was just animatic, again, there's nothing different about they're like less talkative than animatic, I guess. But yeah, the fellas are just chilling there, and we end up having the characters are certainly there. They get introduced. There's a duo of like 2 baseball bats. There's a very excited lightning thing. There's a log who ends up being the character that gets deleted from existence, annihilated from existence. There's also a top hat. There's a tun tun tun. For some reason, there's like a friggin' arrow. These characters are interesting. But yeah, this reminds me a lot of another series I took a look at in Object Catchup, Survival. That's that one episode released by Teal Leafy. That one like has a very similar overall perspective. You know, people against their will in a white void doing challenges which they don't really want to do. They're not competing for anything. They just have to do it because they're here and they're stuck and they're trying not to die. It's kind of it's interesting, right? Who's getting eliminated? I have no idea. However, we also end up having, you see later on, Top Hat apparently TPs into some weird like other dimension. I don't know how they end up there, but Dude ends up absolutely not liking this, so they end up sucking them back up into the normal world. I don't know what's happened. Do you think know what's happened? Yeah, I would probably eliminate Tun Tun because like that meme, but maybe 4 months ago. Was it that 4 months ago? Yes, it was that 4 months ago. What the hell are we talking about? Alright then. Interesting little video. it's time for the next interesting little video, which is episode 2, which is titled Beamsical Beam. Alright, here goes. Also 4 months ago. Alright, that is the Beamsical Beam episode of Object Divided. So there's like a thing going on. I feel like like we're starting to learn a little bit, I guess, about a little bit. Okay, these people definitely kidnapped. So this tablet fella ends up being also apparently a functional recovery machine. I guess you either have to write it in them or draw it on them, which is of course pretty invasive. However, yeah, hey, no, if you need to revive somebody, you can. The main problem that I'm having with this show absolutely is in the audio department. I am pretty much, the audio in this show is like playing roulette. Is it gonna be on the left ear, on the right ear, in both ears, or is it gonna not be there at all and be text? That is the question. It depends on every single audio recording. Even the same character saying the same sentence sometimes swaps, and it's like, oh my god, please, bro. I need me some consistency out here. Come on. Mono audio is such a great invention. More people should use it. Anyways, we need the contestants, which we end up having Kenny's remains, being the one being the prize. But I didn't realize this is about to save, so of course tun ends up being the first one safe, so fair enough. And then the eliminated contestants, well, it's actually a tie between the red degree and Chalk. However, it turns out that Chalk gets eliminated because dude doesn't like them, which, fair enough, bias. Next challenge, balance beam. Of course, the lightning could just zap them all out and win. Fair enough. Either way, I mean, I don't know how you would have fallen off the balance beam. You are a flying entity. However, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we can vote. Who gets out? I have no idea. Wait, who the hell is C? Who is that? Yo, what? Yo, what? Wait. Yo, wait. Yo, hold. Yo, who the hell is that? Nah. That's a different guy. That's not a guy in the show. What is that? That looks like a sleep paralysis demon. Who the hell is that? They all small. I didn't even realize that until right now. Wait, who is that? Interesting. Okay, that's made me a lot more worried. But yeah, apparently, with the Kenny thing, ends up missing their mom. But again, so they have had a previous life. They weren't just here all the time, which is interesting. Top Hat ends up talking about the vision that they saw. And yeah, dude is trying to stop other people from seeing the vision. They pull up a note, like a to-do list. I don't know what it is. But yeah, they need to kidnap somebody. I don't know what this guy's doing. Okay, I'm gonna be absolutely for real. I had no idea, but it looking kind of suspicious. It's looking kind of suspicious. But hey, there's only one way to find out what the motives between anybody are. In episode 3, which is titled Deafinitely Deafable. Okay, time to destroy my ears. Alright, so that is Object Divided, episode 3, Definitely Deafable. That's actually the opposite. Clickbait titles on 1G. Nah. But yeah, so this is the show starting to put itself, enter the pool that is lore, right? Because episode 1, episode 2 was that tipping the toes, it was that tipping the toes of the water, like, yo, do we want to do something with these, or not, or do we want to just have Toon be a character, right? And it's like, okay, I feel like it's now trying to, it's trying to have lore, right? It's trying to be like a story, right? And it kind of does it in an interesting way, where you see kind of the how do I say this? You know what happens, and then you're seeing kind of the backstory of it through retellings or whatever. It's kind of Nightly Manor-esque in a way, in the way that it works, because it doesn't spend too much time. However, it spends nearly entirely of the time with that focus, right? But yes, either way, we know that, I don't know, Canny's dad, I think, got yeeted away. The degrees end up chilling because they will be going up. So, yeah, so we have the story. Toon Toon was apparently chilling with some other guy. Then they end up getting stolen away, so that's sad. Everybody's pretty sad, you know. The top hat wants an exit. Their design has been mildly tweaked. But yeah, it doesn't work. They're getting cooked. Yeah, nobody's having a good time. Okay, 0 people are having a good time. All right. The eliminated contestant ends up being none other than the red degree, which makes the blue degree very sad, of course. And yes, they get sucked up into the void and dip. I'm gonna be 100% honest. It turns out that apparently in the scarf that gets left behind as the degree gets sucked up into the extermination into a black hole, ends up having a note in it that's like, hello, if you're reading this note, that means I have died. Thank you for the time that we have shared and everything. Which, by the way, is an insane level of pessimism to just have that on you at literally all times. When could that have possibly been written? What? I'm sorry. Does anybody here have that? I feel like that's just incredible pessimism. That's like depression levels. Like how are you prepared for this outcome? There's no way. But yes, the new challenge ends up being to not make noise. Don't make a sound. If you don't make a sound, y'all will, it will be solid. A couple of characters end up getting out immediately because they don't realize the challenge. And then Candy ends up giving a message to the fella throughout a pen, which they just have, to the degree, being like, yo, I know how it's like to lose a loved one, and then we end up getting a story about them and presumably their mother, who gets sick sometime and they can't pay the bills with the store and everything, and end up being lonely. They accidentally speak saying sorry for your loss, which is unfortunate. They do get out, however, at least they got to say the words. Of course, I had to come in with the pedantic thing to ruin everything. How the hell did Canny write that entire story? That would take up like the entire floor. That's like at least a full page. Like imagine how large of a line there's gonna need to be to write out the entire story that plays out in the flashback. Like, because that's written live through text. Like that's just like, oh my god, that would take a while. But yes, I'm sorry. I have to point it out. Okay, it's just, it's part of the nature. Gotta point it out. But yes, Tuna eventually ends up just chilling as the other fellows just freaking absolutely sabotage themselves by complaining about each other. Which means everybody else except for Canny is up for Elam. It is a vote to save. Who's getting saved? I mean, people are enjoying Tung because of their meme nature. And in a way, again, a lot of the time, I think that people do find the concept of an antithesis interesting, right? Of a character that goes completely against the functionality of the show, and I think Toon Toon does in a way represent that, right? Because this is a show that's very much so trying to do something. It's trying to say words. It's trying to do emotion, right? And it's directly counterbalances with the fact that it has the most memey possible character in it. So I understand why they're probably going to be safe. So the character that gets eliminated is probably going to be someone who's not that interesting. Like the Blackboard, who didn't do much in this episode. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna need to see it. And yeah, the post-credit scene where we read the note obviously gets the degree to start crying. Nah, bro, there's no way. Wow, who would ever write a note like that? Was it written here? Like, because the only way to make sense if it was written here, it was like, okay, I'm gonna write this because we're probably dying. Because if you just had that, like, if that note's like any more than a month old, that's like, what is happening? What were you doing? Why are you so pessimistic? But like, other than that, I think it's fair. Alright, so that is episode 3. We're starting, to send some lore. I'm interested to see this next episode, because it's double the length of this one. And, I mean, the backstories, for most characters, we're starting to understand it, so what the hell ends up happening? Episode 4, released 3 weeks ago is titled Major Manor. Alright, so we are going to go and we are going to watch it. Okay? Alright, let's go now. Pew! Alright, that is object divided number 4. So, by the way, I'm gonna point something out. In that final scene with the newscaster talking about this dude fella, we ended up having, there was a piece of binary that flashed on the screen down there for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I gave it a bit of my time. I tried to see if I could figure it out. It's too hard. It's at least with the tools that I have at my immediate disposal, I cannot make that binary code readable enough to where I can translate it. And at least in the comments, I don't think anybody else has really pointed it out. Which means that like I currently don't think that that it's a thing. So yeah, I don't really know right what the binary code is. So for now, from my perspective, I personally believe that binary code is impossible. I'm sure somebody could probably figure it out, but for now, I believe that's impossible. So before we start the episode, right? Hold on. All right, hear me out. I am pissed about one thing that the show does, okay? Because there's one thing that I've kind of called out shows for doing. It's for adding warnings kind of half-assed at the beginning. Add a half-assed warning. Okay, it's like, oh, somebody pointed out, it's like, okay, fine, I'll add a warning. This show has probably the most disrespectful warning I think I've ever seen. What do you mean you make your fucking warning about photosensitivity and other stuff up to freaking flashing lights? Like, what? That's literally what you're warning them about. You're not supposed to show them. You're supposed to, oh, yo, you may have a seizure like this. Like, no, you're not supposed to give an example. For fuck's sake, man. That is actually so bad. Why is the warning flashing? That is actually so bad. That is so bad. That is insane. I'm sorry. That is insanity. I cannot believe you do that. But, anyways, let's actually chat about the show because we have a bunch of lore to get into. So, we have some fellas going on, some beef going on. You know, Canny and Degree, they're starting to connect a little bit, going like, yo, we have this shared experience. There's not much else to really share around here. I know they start to bond and say, hey, let's try to find out a way out of this place, because it seems like Degree's dead, the other fella's dead, everybody's dead. We're dying, so we need to try to find a way to leave, right? And everything. In the meantime, of course, Tung Tung and Top Hat are just beefing. For some reason, we end up having Top Hat. So Top Hat's backstory. Okay, so we get to see Top Hat a kind of backstory a little bit, but basically Top Hat gets majorly called. Okay. Top Hat has this really bad memory, this really traumatic memory, okay, of their parents disciplining them, okay, of this one time. That their parents was like, we put our trust in you. It's like, I won't let you down. And it's like, you've broken our trust or whatever. I don't know I don't know what happened. That's not given out in the show. However, that is what's happening. Okay, so that's what Top Hat has apparently become more like, I guess, less level-headed about, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, eventually we end up having some fellas just pop in, stealing some more, kidnapping some other guys. But yeah, they end up agreeing. But first, of course, we have to do the elimination. Yay! We have this. Did I point out the intro the other? I feel like, yeah, the intro was there the other episode. Yeah, it's an intro. There's not too much going on about it. I will point out, however, that I do like the concept of like the fact that each it's in the same way that the Nightly Manor intro works, by the way. I'm just saying there's a lot of parallels to the Nightly Manor here. That like the dead characters are like full black, they're like glitched out because they were exterminated. But yeah, if you're safe, you end up getting a piece of the fella, and the blackboard ends up getting out, so they get freaking erased from existence, which was not which I'm sure was not great. But yes, their corpse is still there in case you want to revive them, which is Okay, cool. And yeah, they end up having to try to find a way to leave. However, they're not making many strides in trying to leave. To be fair, okay, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of thought about this a little bit in the segment that I did yesterday for Mansion Battle, because Mansion Battle has a similar thing going on of somebody like the cast being stuck and having to and wanting to find an escape in a white room, in a white void, right? To be fair, in this case it's a white void, and in that case it's a white room where they know there's an outside, but in this case they don't really know there's an outside. However, it's one of those things where it's like, a lot of the time, these people aren't making many efforts to see what happens, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not impossible to just start trying, right? Like, if you try to, for example, dig. Like, if you dig, what happens, for example, right? Like, what is below? Is there anything below? Are you not able to dig? Is it too hard, right? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you see, just having that knowledge would allow you to, for example, be able to construct a little bit more understanding of the layer that you are in, right? Because if, for example, you're in a room, if you manage to dig out any piece of it, you'll see like dirt or something, right? However, if you're in a white void, you might just see nothing, or you might see just nothing open up, right? Like, there might just be nothing there, or it just won't open up, or it just forever be white void stuff, right? And it's like, it's these types of experiments that I never see these characters do, right? These characters are always like, yo, we gotta find a way to leave, but I'm gonna sit here anyway, right? Like, oh no, go find something then. Go try, go experiment, do whatever you can. But either way, in this challenge, you're having the fellas that teleport to the manor alongside these fellas, which are just new contestants, by the way. They're not actually, I thought they were temporary for the chat. No, they just joined the game. Okay, bro. Alright, just new characters. And the very challenge is to team up alongside one of the remaining contestants, and do whatever help them out in the manner to try to be the one to leave. The challenge is they simply have to leave. So they end up pairing up with various degrees of success. The lightning bolt ends up pairing up with the glasses. The glasses who's kind of all doom and gloom. This, what the fuck's happening? This life's bad or whatever. But lightning bolt's, a little bit more jolly. So they end up kind of just dragging them along, everything, and going out by super fast. Then we have this fella who's like squarey fella. Of course, I mean, I do have to make a nearly immediate parallel to the fact that they look very similar to dudes themselves, right? I mean, not too similar, however, at the same core design principles that dude has apply to this guy as well. So I do have to point that out. And then we end up having some other fellas. Like Canny ends up teaming up with the Sunflower, who is the more like classy lady, right? That's the best way to describe it. But yeah, they end up chatting with the other fella, and then we have the hat, well, not the propeller hat, who ends up teaming up with Toon Toon, because of course Toon Toon Toon, and the bro's a kid and they know about the Toon Toon. So yeah, they're doing all that. And then we have this grape can fella who is wanting to team up with Top Hat. For what reason? Hold on, they said something. I need to hear this. He seems to be the calmer and nonchalant. No, incorrect assessment of Top Hat. That is not true. But yeah, they try to hang out with them, but yeah, Top Hat just immediately shuts them down. And they try sticking around, but no, Top Hat is not moving. Top Hat is not somebody you can lead astray too much. And yeah, eventually, Degree's just trying to get this fella to go away, this square fella, because, they're trying to be a little bit more overexcited. Yes, again, I'm going to draw a parallel. First of all, A, they're in a manor, Deafinitely manor, and B, this square guy just reminds me a lot of Sketchpad, and just the way that they act. So I'm feeling some parallel. But yes, eventually, while chilling, Degree ends up seeing Degree, the red Degree, who, as a ghost, who has been, saying, yo, come on, bro, team up, I'm still watching you, and everything. Yeah, you're gonna do great. You can see a smile tear as they dispoof away. This may or may not be a thing that happened. It is completely unknown. I mean, like, at the end of the characters have shown... Oh, Canny has shown hallucination. Let's use that direct hallucination, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's that... a ghost, can you, okay, I don't know to what degree that ghost was actually there, right? Like, to what degree, like, was the ghost that we saw, because, like, seeing the painting different, that's just a hallucination. The ghost can theoretically actually exist. You know, in the situation where it's like they can only appear to one person, you know, ghost power. You can do anything you want with the ghost power, right? So there's a possibility that did actually happen, but it's unknown. But either way, they end up kind of going along with the Squarey, who doesn't really know what's going on, but they're like, okay, bro, you do you. Yeah, eventually Sunflower goes like, yo, Kenny, we're gonna need to like get you checked out, but yeah, again, they don't know the horrors, all right. But yeah, the top hat, as they start falling into dreamland again to remember those moments where they got disciplined, they start randomly getting mad at themselves over the freaking soda. The can is still there, and it's like, yo, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? What are you doing? So they're like chilling out. Toon gets super mad at the propeller hat for being, you know, life of a meme. And they end up accidentally breaking a door while was just there the entire time. And they proceed to be safe because of it. So good job, Toon and Propeller Hat. Y'all have done pretty good. So yeah, I need Toon to disappear ASAP. I feel like we were not trying to write this character very well. I don't know what we're exactly doing here. Right, I don't know. Again, it's too at odds with what we're doing. But again, we're gonna need to see where this show goes, because I mean they've just doubled the amount of episodes by just doubling the amount of the cast. Right, so, you know, it's kind of like what are they gonna do? But yeah, Kenny and Degree are like, yo, we got this together. Bum bum. Right, so yeah, we got to see the ghost again, and then everybody else is up for elimination in a vote to save system. Who's getting out? I heard. Okay, it's probably one of the new ones, isn't it? I mean, how's it not? Okay, could be glasses. I think it's glasses. I think that makes the most sense for elimination, because the glasses and the lightning bolt got the least amount of screen time, and lightning bolt was the one dictating everything. So I think that glasses is kind of the doom and gloom, but also new, but there's not a direct backstory reason why yet. I think that they probably are the one, maybe random. All I want for Christmas is you, for no apparent reason. We just wanted it. All I want for Christmas is you. All right. And then we end up having the outro being the fella. Wait, what did this guy say in the outro? Oh yeah, you can't run away. Yeah, I'm always watching. Yes, there's a little text that said no escape at the end, and then we get to the news. What does the news anchor say exactly? I'm not. There's something. I think dude's a missing person in the logo area. Okay. But yeah, we're trying to claw. You know, we're trying to figure out what's going on. We don't know yet. We don't know what's going on yet. However, yeah, we're trying to discover. Do I have any theories? I feel like this is the type of show I should probably pull out a theory here around it for the sake of. I mean, what would possibly have happened? I mean, they're missing. I mean, that they were there. So were they a normal guy? But why would they be a normal guy? There's no way this guy's a normal guy. You're just animatic. Is animatic a normal guy? I don't know. It's like if animatic was in the Lightning Manor. Is that? Oh, God. Yeah, that's this show. That's the best way I could describe this show. Okay, so apparently dude was missing. So dude was in the town at some point. And everybody else was also in the town as one of the missing people. I wonder if, it's interesting because, you know, theoretically everybody that got kidnapped is missing, which means that there could be potential suspicions from the town. Think about it, right? Because if 5 people go missing, it's conveniently in the same day in a small town, that's something's going on, right? So, like, you could consider this a little detail that could be important. So the city might know. Right, which I think would make for a cool, interesting idea, where like the fellas are trying to escape out to get info from the city, but the city's trying to get info from them, right? And for example, if dude showed algebraicanistic and these types of qualities early, right, like these types of capabilities of going to a different unit, doing anything, basically, if they shown the capability to go into this portal and the people know, right, then it could be an interesting plot line, right? Because I'm imagining a plot line where it's like we're not only, because like the plot line is that these people are trying to escape, but there's literally nothing for them to do. Again, I'm suggesting a couple ideas. I try to dig or whatever, see what happens, but like at the end of the day, nothing's happening, right? It's a white void, right? However, I do think that the possibility of having the other way round could be really interesting, because if dude was a citizen of the city, then if dude was a citizen of the city, then they would know about him and what he could do, right? Which means that after he goes insane for whatever reason and decides to bring people into his own world to compete in a fucked up game show, right? Well, like, you can imagine that, you know, he goes missing first because he starts hosting it, and then 5 people mysteriously go missing, and then a couple weeks later, 5 more people mysteriously go missing. So you have to track it back to what? The first person that started it all, which is dude. So then if the people in the city know about what this guy can do, and they know that he's the cause based on the missing people report, then that could be a very interesting plotline where they, with their own like collective scientists and power or whatever, can directly try to build a machine or anything, a portal gun, whatever it is, and they could try to directly reach out to dude's dimension rather than the other way around. Because I feel like the other fellas, they're too closed down, but they're too closed down. And if somebody even, like, basically it's like, even if they did to find an escape, they wouldn't be let escape, right? However, the fellas in the city, they can go to them, right? And then later, I don't know what's going to happen in that circumstance. However, I do believe that that is probably that's my favorite theory that I've come up with, as far as the ones that are floating around in my head right now. I think that would be cool. It would also be, like, it will a little bit show up more people as well. Of course, it's a little bit difficult because we are still doing a competition in the middle. However, like, I do think that would be my favorite. Like, I think so far, I don't know, I haven't imagined better, and I haven't been suggested a better idea. I don't know what the show's actually doing, because the show's not doing what I said. You know, like, this idea that I'm doing is like, this idea that I just suggested is I feel like it's very far-fetched. You know, there's no way it's not a prediction. Like, I don't think this is what the show's gonna do. There's no way. I do think that, like, this would be my favorite realistically possible avenue for the show to take, because it's smart, right? It's like that type of thing where you kind of gotta think about it, like, oh yeah, okay, so they call, you know, like, it requires puzzle pieces to be put together, right? Like, it's not just obvious. So yeah, I would personally do that. Like, I would personally do that. However, I don't know. We're gonna need to see what the show's actually gonna do. I don't know if there's another section that I'm gonna do for this video, or if this is just gonna be it. I guess I'm gonna have to find out. But yeah, for this episode, that is all, maybe? I don't know. Look, next section. Is it going to be an outro or is it not? Let's find out. Okay, yes, there is going to be one more section to the video, because I am going to take a look at another request that is kind of old, not that old, but I wanted to do it because it's only one episode, so I was like, yeah, sure, why not, right? So, as part of the trio that created the shows that we took a look at for Plush Us, right? It was called like TSS, the stupid trio, whatever they were called. Has 2 other members in it, which also have their own shows. So BFIDK is by one of the members, and there are, I believe, 2 others who have recommended I believe, their respective shows. So yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it. Starting with IF, which is the order request. So IF1 is titled The Shitty Beginning. It's 4 minutes long. Here goes absolutely nothing. Let's go. Alright, that is IF1, or Inanimate Frenzy. So we have an interesting little show where, you know, the contestants, they're chilling, they're hanging out. You can already see some of the personalities. You have the classic character that don't speak. You have this backpack. I swear, bro, this looks like the backpack from one asset but recolored. Hold on, nah. Backpack 1. Oh, this show. Do you look like this? Am I dumb? I feel like this is what you look like. You kind of look like this. Not really. Okay, it's not what I was thinking. Okay, no, it's different. Like, the general design idea is the same, but it's different. Okay. But anyways, we end up having a character like Plunger, who's kind of the mean one, right? Like, you see the character archetypes pretty simply. There's the mechanical mind, the robot who apparently needs who is getting created by the toolbox, which is interesting. So they have their own dynamic, and then we have 27, who is voice acted by the hit YouTuber Mr. Incredibrony, who happens to be the reactionnaire. Now, here's the thingy. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, it does truly stick out. Quite a bit in a positive manner, though. I actually think that this, like the line, like you can really tell the microphone here that's being used for 27, it's like just a higher quality than the microphones used for the other characters. Like it's pretty solid. And yeah, indeed, they end up doing their thing. So they're hosting a show, and they are. The prize is a picture of Miss Incredible. You can tell that bro's a fan. There's a fan. We fan of Mr. Incredible on the scene. Here, but yeah, so everybody wants this prize, and then we end up having the challenge, which is to find a co-host. We'll have multiple judges grading the co-host. Why don't we just make one of the judges the co-host? I don't know, to be honest, but you know. Yeah, so end up finding it. One of them is Disc, which I believe is also a Missing Brony character. So they end up not giving them a very high rating. And then a bunch of other co-hosts come in, but suggested by various other people. And the winning co-host ends up being the co-host given by... Wait, who gave to... Hold on, I don't... Oh, by Calculator, who gave the number 24. Yes, 24, who loves killing people. So therefore, they immediately get a lot of points. I did have to remember... No, I do have to remind of this one detail. Usually, I think that a co-host doesn't have to be the same thing. That's actually boring if you just have the same guy twice, right? It's kind of like if 4 and 4 wouldn't be that good of a duo. 4 and X is a good duo because they function kind of differently. Just saying. It's not actually having a great... it's not a great co-host to have a character with the same qualities as a host, because you want to have a co-host that amplifies, right, has different qualities. That way there's a broader spectrum of total qualities, right? That way everybody else is up for elim. Who's getting eliminated? I don't know, I mean, presumably Plunger, because they were mean, right? I think that makes sense. But either way, I'd just like to point out that these judges are rigged. How did they rate a stick at 30 out of 40 total? I don't know, but yeah. Overall, the disc also ends up getting absolutely destroyed over there in the sun by a glitchy fella. I don't know if that's just to troll Mr. Incredibrony, which or if there's actual lore going on there, but you know, something's happening, something's a little suspicious. But I mean, overall, I thought it was pretty solid. You know, we got to see I like how in this individual challenge we did actually get to see everybody do their segments. Right, we got to see everybody's suggestion, and therefore it's not like oh, one people does it, oh, and then you skip. Like, there wasn't any skip, which is nice. I think is important, because a lot of these small objects, they go like, oh, we don't need to see this because I don't want to animate it, so I'm going to skip it. Right, no, we do. But so this show does it. But yeah, overall, it's very serviceable. Of course, I would need more episodes to be able to see what arcs is going to do, what dynamics is going to try to build, because so far, you know, it's episode 1. It's the pilot of the idea. But yeah, alright, next thing, actually I'll just say what it is here. The next show is by Nebzz, who, Nebzz with a lot of Z's. And Nebzz with a lot of Z's is out here with their show titled KK, which I don't know what it stands for. However, yes, it was 6 months ago. They are the Hammer fella from BFI, no, not BFIDK, from the show with the trio. I don't remember what it's called. But yes, that's what they do. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Let's head to episode 1. Can you draw? Alright, so that is the KK episode 1. So it's like, okay, it's an interesting little thing, what this is. Because I find that this show showcases a little bit of an element, right, that I think a lot of people don't realize just how important it is, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you can do a thing, and you can do the same thing that a lot of different people do, right? However, you can do it in so many different types of pacing, and I think this shows it off by putting it on the extreme slow end, right? because okay, well, before we actually get to the challenge component, which is where I'm gonna have this discussion, we're having the initial chat, right, where we have this fella, this orange YouTube logo, which everybody despises. Just everybody hates him. The markers hate him. This marker duo hates him. This Pickles fella just chasing him down. And it's all going great, right? Then apparently we end up having a pair who dies. That's all they do, pretty much. And then while the pair dies, you know who appears at random? A mushroom. Yeah. A golden mushroom, in fact. And this golden mushroom ends up being like, yo, guys, want to be in my show? And it's like, yeah, but if you recover us, and they do, because they have this lucky block. This lucky block allows you to do anything. What does it do? It contains anything that you can possibly imagine, and it's a recovery center, which, it's an interesting kind of duet of things, because if you think about it, like, the Lucky Block theoretically would remain as a recovery center even post the winner winning it. So I'm just saying that, like, for example, you couldn't put a Lucky Block in your house, right? Because if you put a Lucky Block in your house, it wouldn't work. Why? Because it would, that people would respawn from it, right? So I think there's kind of an interesting situation that can be done there, but eventually everybody agrees to do that. Challenge is to make a drawing. So yes, you see this challenge starts about 2 minutes 3 minutes in, 250 after the intro. That's, it's an intro. There's some text that gets cut off the screen because the aspect ratio is not quite perfect. I don't know why it's not. Like the person who voiced it. And also, I don't know why it's called Kirby Clash. That has nothing to do with anything. That is the one franchise that has nothing to do with anything. Lucky Block, which are from Lucky Block, which is the name of the one from Minecraft. However, it's actually a question mark ball from Mario, and the golden mushroom is from Mario, and the markers are from BTBATNE. And there's nothing Kirby about this. But either way, you see, it takes a full 5 minutes to do this next portion. So we get to see each character individually be like, this, I am going to draw this because of this. And then they do. And then eventually that cycles for every character, all 10. Okay? Which is useful because, of course, we get to see. However, you can just see how the speed is just slow. The speed of the way that it does it is just slow, and it really does impact it, right? Because usually it's like, I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm done, right? But instead, all right, that's kind of how it goes. And especially the rating portion by the Raider, whatever the guy is, ends up just kind of giving, in nearly every show, the ratings would be shown either at the same time, of course, everybody draws, the drawing is shown, Raider rates it, they'll get shown at the same time, but instead we get to see the drawings one time, and then we get to see the drawings all again, right? But so, because the guy has to rate it, so we get to see the drawing and then the rating, and then afterwards the character reacts to the rating. What wasn't it a 10? Right? You see what I mean? When in a usual show, that would just be off. That would just be one scene where every rating is shown at the same time. Here are the ratings. You win. It's super simple to make it a lot shorter. And of course, you might want to go oh yeah, but if it's shorter, it's gonna be a 5-minute episode. It's not gonna be as cool. Well, no, you understand. If the longer episodes are cooler because they have more things in them. If you just try to make a show, right, what's that has 4 minutes of content into 8 minutes, that's not an 8-minute show. That's just a boring 4-minute show. That's what it is. You didn't make double the content, you just made the content double the slowness, right? And in general, even that example that I gave you earlier, that character is going I'm going to draw the best character who is a gumball or whatever, right? And then boom, here it is, right? How it actually does it is it fades in from the other one, pause, I am going to draw the best character, gumball, pause, shows up. This is perfection. Switch. You see what I mean? That was just slow. I don't even know how long that took, but that's for one of them, and then you do that 10 times, right? So like that's what I mean with this, with the slowness factor of it, right? We have more missing credit Bernie voice acting, as well, by the way, in this one. I'd like to just point out something. Fun fact: music is loud. Just saying, the music is loud. The music is very loud. I got to listen to a lot of Kevin MacLeod. Not gonna lie. So as I do usually, lower the music by about like 10 decibels. Trust me, the show's gonna be much a better experience to watch in general, right? Because the music's okay, but we've already heard it. You know, it's the Kevin MacLeod. Like you can put it down, put it minus 10 decibels on the editing thing. The minus 10 of whatever it is right now, okay, and then the voices will pop out a lot more. It'll be a lot more for you because they're what's important, they're what's needed, right? And there at the end of the day, it's what is needed. And also, importantly, if you have a second music track, remember to remove the first one, because I got to hear Kevin MacLeod twice at the same time. Now, when it was doing the chase scene, it was playing the chase music. Okay, actually, I don't remember the other track is Kevin MacLeod, but like, even though the other track is Kevin MacLeod, right? Is one of those things where it's like, if you play two tracks at the same time, and it's kind of weird because there's the chasing track that's weird, and then there's the other track that is also there in the background, but then it's quieter, and then one's louder than the other one that's quieter. But remember, the first one was already loud anyways. So yeah, it just there's these couple of tiny, like, I guess, like tiny nitpicks, but in general, just kind of make your show paced a little faster. Okay, that is it for the Kirby Clash that doesn't have Kirby's or clashing in it. Let's do ourselves the outro, because this video is quite long. To be fair, it did take 2 days to make. Alright. Alright, that will be all for today's installment of Catchup. Because, yes, I don't know, I just felt like, you know, we needed to do a little bit more of the request pile, because the next few days are going to be a little bit complicated. Episode 75 is coming up. It's special, that means, I'm not 100% sure where I looked at it. I specifically tried to not, kind of to deal with it in when it arrives. And, you know, there's going to be a new BFDIE that we need to somehow fit in there. There's some other requests that are pretty large that are getting old enough to where I got to cover them. There's also going to be, I think, the Webs Forever show 3 or whatever it's called should release an episode in a week, or like less than a week. I don't know when that is, but that could also majorly throw off schedule. So I felt like, okay, these super old ones I need to just get out of the way in any way possible. Took 2 days, but we did it. There's a couple others, but dude, it's hard. Okay. I'm trying. Yeah, all right, so for the shows that we watched, we are pretty caught up, I would say. I'd say we're pretty relatively caught up. I mean, a couple you can make arguments, right? That, oh, you missed the previous thing. Okay. However, we're roughly caught up. So, yeah. See you next time. Goodbye.